Hey, was that loud? Oh, hey, hello. I'm here. You're over there. We're chilling for a while, man. Sorry it's been so long since I last streamed. I think my last stream was GPS 3 and then the previous Starlink. Um, Streaming's fun, but I've been working on a lot of credential management for my professional career, and YouTube has kind of been not the biggest priority, but I'm actually very, very pleased to be back live streaming, talking to you folks today. Um, wow, it's a huge day today. Like it's this is a day that I've been looking forward to for a long time. Um, you know, we never really expected this to happen so quickly, but Crew Dragon is, at least the mission, is nearing completion right now. And they are in line to land at the Gulf of Mexico near Pensacola um, right now. Well, in about an hour and a half. But I'm here early to hang out with you guys, answer any questions you may have. Again, I'm Bradley with Mars Meditation. I hope you can hear me okay. I hope everyone's doing great. Let me know in the chat who is out there, who's checking me out. I will be here for a while, so don't go nowhere, but if you go somewhere, try to come back. And hit that like button already. Please, if you stop by and you see this, please hit the like button so YouTube knows that you like the quality of this video. If you don't like the quality, then that's okay. I'm working on it. But anyways, we're here. Again, I've been waiting on this day for a long time. So Starship SN5 is going to be doing its 150-meter hop tentatively today. We really hope so. I'm checking out the streams respectively, like the Lab Padre 4K 24/7 stream, seeing if NASA spaceflight's going to go live or Everyday Astronaut. But I am not going to be showing their footage or any streaming footage from another YouTuber who is making profits off of that. So I'm actually going to sit here as someone with no resources out in Boca Chica to kind of wait for the official SpaceX live stream. And I'm crossing my fingers today that SpaceX will do the official live stream for the 150-meter hop shortly after Bob and Doug safely splash back down in the Gulf of Mexico today. Now, this hop is everything that is going on today is all SpaceX. SpaceX is under the spotlight today. It's August 2nd. We are ending the summer with a splash and a raptor fire. So I'm really excited, man. So I'm here today to discuss things with you, answer any questions you guys have. I have the chat pulled up here on my left side or right side. I'm looking on the left on the camera. But anyways, so yeah, Starship will be hopefully the SpaceX will be live streaming the Starship hop. If not, I'll peer over to Lab Padre's stream just for the the prop loading and to see if they either abort the hop or they continue forward with the 150-meter hop today. Man, SN1, SN2, or sorry, SN1, SN3, and SN4, they all did not pass it's the campaign of wet dress rehearsals, cryogenic proof testing to make sure that the stainless steel actually survives the pressure of flight load pressure, and none of them made it through. I mean, SN4 made it through cryogenic pressure testing, but as you all may know or have seen on YouTube, SN4 actually rapidly unscheduled disassembly on the launch pad in Boca Chica, Texas, destroying the stand and everything around it, all because of a quick disconnect issue that happened about a month ago. So here we are a month later. We have a brand new Starship tank section on the pad, and it's ready to be fueled up and take the hop. It's got its disconnectors, it's got its leg clamps, it's got everything figured out, brand new launch pad. We're going to see how this one goes. I never thought that we'd get to this point where we're actually at Starship SN5, and we're going to be kind of seeing where SpaceX takes it today. Backup window for today for the hop is going to be tomorrow and the next day. Unfortunately, I will be, it depends on when SpaceX does it, but I actually won't be able to make that. So for this live stream tentatively happening on a Sunday is a very, very good thing for me because I'm actually available and I can do this. Most of the time I'm either working or, doing fatherlyhood things all day. So this is cool, man. So yeah, we have crew demo 2 Splashdown happening right now. We have Dragon. I'll pull up the screen in just a moment here. If you guys have any questions, hit me up in the comments. Like I said, I'll be here forever, pretty much all day. I'm gonna be live here until both of these events happen. And I chose YouTube today. Well, I'm always going to choose YouTube for my channel, but there was a moment in time where I was doing a hybrid of YouTube and Twitch live streams at the same time, and I found that there was a lot of constraints there, especially with kind of engaging with the audience. It's kind of hard to monitor 2 different chat streams. I know you can combine them with Restream.io, but it was just kind of it just kind of became a hassle, and there were some constraints with emotes on YouTube and memberships and stuff like that too. So I'm trying to figure all this out. But we have my new layout here, my super spacey background. Well, this is my real background, and then we have my kind of like wormhole picture that I kind of designed and put together for this thumbnail for this video. Do you guys like the thumbnail? I think this one looks really cool today. I did a pretty good job on, I can remove a Lamau, 1 second. Let me remove this guy. Yeah, so this is a pretty cool looking thumbnail. I would agree. I think I like it a lot. But I'm going to be here. Let's see if I can get a window up. I have a window here. 1 second here. Copy. Paste. Okay, there you go. So this is what I'm taking a look at right now. We don't have a lot of information on what's happening, but I know for a fact that they are doing their final reentry. Well, yeah, their final descent burn, so that the capsule can start with its reentry. And we will see some drogue shoots. Okay, let's actually go through the description because I have a lot of things to talk about, and my mind is kind of jumbled because I want to talk about it all at once. So, what we're gonna see today, and I put this in very funny terms. By the way, I'm gonna be kind of doing some music stuff today. We're gonna be here a while. I'm going to be doing some music stuff. I'm going to be kind of working at the same time on the computer. And we're going to be checking out the SpaceX streams. So speaking of SN5, here are the things that we are expecting to see. We are expecting to see a stainless steel grain silo standing on a launch pad. It is a tank that is in Texas right now, and it's a very important tank, but it just looks like a grain silo. So you're in Texas and you drive down Boca Chica Road, and all of a sudden there's all these tanks with liquid nitrogen and oxygen and methane, and a huge grain silo that fills up and is a controlled bomb and will take quite the flight today. We will see an ocean / beachfront, and we'll be looking at the Gulf Coast on both streams, actually. So Bob and Doug are actually going to be landing downrange of right in the middle of Cape Canaveral and Boca Chica, which is really cool. So we'll kind of see that either on Lab Padre streams and most likely on SpaceX's stream, especially if they get a drone up there. Let's see here. Then we will see venting liquid nitrogen, liquid oxygen, liquid methane, and I really had fun with this description. You guys should check out this description. I'm having a lot of fun with this stream. So I said SpaceX tank farm und vape gods. Yeah, the tank farm of SpaceX is the vape gods. So we're going to see a big kind of Halloween-themed tank farm, just kind of venting liquid nitrogen and oxygen and methane and filling up the rocket for its 150-meter hop. Then we will see some black hot dogs, and we will explain what the black hot dogs is. We're going to see Roadster SpaceX package thrusters. So the SpaceX package thrusters on a road that are supposed to happen on a Roadster. We're going to see that on the rocket. I know that makes no sense, but I'm making a joke that the the SpaceX model of the Roadster is going to be using SpaceX RCS thrusters. So we're going to be seeing RCS thrusters on the Starship. Hopefully when it's flying too, we're going to see them kind of fire from the bottom and the top. We are also going to see 2 Tesla Model X battery packs, or Model S. I really don't know exactly which battery packs are on it, but there are 2 battery packs on the top of SN5, and those are going to be powering the unit with all the electronics, computering, wiring, all that stuff. And they actually had to replace or charge those batteries before the last static fire that occurred, and yeah, that was interesting to watch. And then we're going to see 6 flippy telescopy whittle wegs. I call them whittle wegs because compared to the 80-foot tall, 30-foot wide Starship model or prototype, there's, instead of the 3 Tintin legs that they were going to go with for what you saw in Starhopper, now Starhopper had 3 landing legs that were fixed. They didn't move or anything like that. They didn't fold out. Nothing like what you'd see here on a Falcon where the legs actually fold out like this. Like, they were stationary legs. And we're going to see 6 flippy telescopy whittle legs. And I'll show you a graphic of what that looks like, but I'm just excited to see it in person. Essentially, under the skirt of the Starship, there are 6 legs that actually fold out and telescope down so that and it gives it a little bit of shock absorb and cushion for when it lands. And it's going to be landing on 6 not so wide legs. It's going to be probably a foot or 2 outside of the 30-foot diameter rocket. So with Starhopper, it was 30 feet wide for the actual fuselage and like the skirt where the Raptor is, and then there is the 3 big legs that go probably maybe 2 meters out each or so, like maybe another 10 or so, well, I don't know, not 10 feet. Yeah, maybe each leg was like 10 feet out and more. So it's going to be really weird for this iteration of Starship that they're doing. This tank section is just going to have those 6 legs, and they're going to try and land it on a landing pad about 100 feet down from the launch pad. So it's going to be going off from the launch pad, floating up 100 meters or 150 feet. What am I saying? 500 feet, 150 meters, and it's going to traverse to a landing pad. It's going to be quite the sight. We're also going to see a sideways hover, and which is, the reason we're seeing a sideways hover is because the Raptor engine is actually off center on the thrust puck of the rocket. So the rocket's going to be flying kind of at an angle, and it's going to somehow land straight up. So we're just going to see how that works. I seriously don't know why they're not doing 3 Raptors, and it actually makes sense to do 1 because without the nose cone and the aero surfaces like the wings and the flaps, and then everything else like a payload and everything like that, like human rated capsules, 3 Raptors would be too much thrust. So all we're going to look at is the tank section with a little oh, I should probably put this in the description. We are also going to be seeing square I don't know, payload simulator, not a Roadster. Yeah, try to make this a little funny. Okay, so SpaceX did the Roadster for the Falcon Heavy, and Elon made a funny joke about how for test flights they usually have like a slab of concrete or something. So he actually made SpaceX designed kind of like this square payload simulator on top of SN5 to weigh it down so that it can have a little bit more payload mass for just the tank section alone. By the way, there's no nose cone, and this thing is just an 80-foot tall grain silo that's going to fly. Okay, so that's what we're going to see with Starship SN5, and with Crew Dragon return to Splashdown, we're basically going to see big marshmallow falling from the sky, kind of a blunt force thing, punching through the atmosphere, troposphere, stratosphere, all that stuff, coming back down at very, very high velocity, supersonic speeds. You're going to see some drogue chutes, we're going to see some main parachutes, and then we're going to see a splashdown in the Gulf of Mexico. I'm going to tune in to this guy right now. We're going to listen in, and we're going to see how things go. Again, I'm Bradley with Mars Meditation here again, checking this out with you guys. I'm also going to pull up some memes too, so we can go over that, and hopefully we can get a laugh in today. So let's unmute Crew Demo 2 Splashdown and switch camera
so
here.
That should wrap up over the next couple of minutes, and then we'll hear them call that up to the crew
I need
members,
the update. I'm gonna
the
stop
final go
flopping my
to
gums.
do the deorbit burn, but we'll be doing all of the other activities prior to that.
Deorbit burns coming up as well here.
And then just getting ourselves ready for deorbit burn. So things are definitely going to start picking up in the next couple of minutes. Really, the next hour is really where things start to happen. But we do have a couple of moments now to get joined by a special guest.
Dragon, SpaceX is go for the deorbit burn, and the burn has been enabled.
Man, perfect. I was live
That's
just
a great
in
call
time.
here.
We're happy go for the deorbit burn, and we stayed on board.
All right, so we just heard it. That means both the SpaceX and NASA teams are go for deorbit burn. So we are counting down to that.
I wonder what that feels
burn,
like.
Still a bit of a ways off. It's just under an hour from now from starting for that 11.5-minute burn. But for now, as we are go for deorbit and return of Bob and Doug, we're going to send it over to the Johnson Space Center real quick, where Courtney Beasley is standing by in Mission Control Houston, along with NASA Administrator Jim Bridenstine, also there in Houston. Courtney?
Thanks, Dan. Yes, joining me in a studio here at NASA's Johnson Space Center is NASA Administrator Jim Bridenstine. Jim, thanks for joining us today. Another historic day for our agency, returning humans to Earth in a commercially built.
Why doesn't Jim ever wear SpaceX
spacecraft.
shirts?
How is this
Is it just
mission
not on
paving
brand?
the way for the future?
Well, it's a great question, and I think it's really establishing the business model for the future. So you can see today I'm wearing my Artemis shirt.
Okay.
And when we go to the moon,
sense.
we're going to go with commercial partners. And you know, NASA's goal here, we don't want to purchase, own, and operate the hardware the way we used to. We want to be one customer of many customers in a very robust commercial marketplace in low Earth orbit, but we also want to have numerous providers that are competing against each other on cost and innovation and safety, and really create this virtuous cycle of economic development and capability.
Really
and that's what
table.
today's return is going to represent. This is the next era in human spaceflight, where NASA gets to be the customer. We want to be a strong customer. We want to be a great partner, but we don't want to be the only ones that are operating with humans in space.
And while on board, Bob and Doug were, of course, conducting science experiments and spacewalks. And how are NASA's efforts on this station contributing to life back here on Earth?
So when we think about the International Space Station, it really is focused on how do we do those transformational activities that benefit human life here on Earth. And certainly, you know, when we think about advanced materials, industrialized biomedicine, these are the things that we're developing every day. Some examples would include, as far as advanced materials, very, very thin materials like an artificial retina for the human eyeball, so somebody who has macular degeneration might not have to lose their eyesight in the future. We can only create materials that thin in the microgravity of space. We cannot do it here in the gravity well of Earth. But that's just one of so many examples. When we think about how we compound pharmaceuticals, when we think about how we you know, create immunizations for things like salmonella and other diseases. These are capabilities that are available to us because of the resource that is microgravity. But you know, advanced materials, things like very pristine fiber optic cables, we call it Z-band, for example. These are all things that we think that there is a marketplace for the future. So look, right now we're doing commercial resupply of the International Space Station. As of today, when Bob and Doug come home safely, we will be doing commercial crew to the International Space Station. The next big thing is we need commercial space stations themselves. And in order to create the market for commercial space stations, we have to have these transformational capabilities that come from the microgravity environment. And that's really what we're developing right now.
And as you know, a big day for NASA today, but how about a big week? This week alone, we launched Mars 2020. Artemis 1's launch vehicle stage adapter was delivered to Kennedy Space Center. And here we are completing the first commercial commercially crewed mission
awesome.
to the
It's been a
International
great year.
Space Station. What are your thoughts on the state of the agency
Really
at this
good year.
point?
2020 has been
So
great.
make
NASA's
no
been
mistake,
holding up their
NASA's
end of
budget
the
right
bargain.
now is the highest it's ever been in nominal dollars. And it's at $22 billion. The budget request that President Trump gave us that is before the House and the Senate right now is $25.2 billion. It's not just about sustaining capabilities like commercial crew, commercial resupply, the International Space Station. It's also about developing new capabilities so that the United States of America can stay the preeminent spacefaring nation. It's why we created the Artemis program to go to the moon sustainably with commercial partners and international partners to use the resources of the moon to live and work for long periods of time and then take all of that knowledge onto Mars. And of course, as you mentioned on Thursday, we launched another Mars mission. The most sophisticated robot that NASA has ever developed is right now on its way to Mars, and we're going to prove that we can turn the carbon dioxide atmosphere of Mars into pure oxygen for life support. But there's so many other things. We're looking for life on another world. We're looking for signs of ancient life on Mars. We're talking about microbial life, but life nonetheless. And this is really a bright moment for NASA. I want to be clear, though. We need support from our members of Congress in both the House and the Senate. We need to be able to get that $25.2 billion budget that we have requested. And so I'm working with members of Congress and senators on both sides of the aisle every day, doing town halls across the country. We are in great shape. But in order to stay #1 in the world, we're going to need the resources that the president has requested.
That's a good statement.
Jim, thanks for joining us today. Such an exciting day. And in case you missed it just moments ago, both SpaceX and NASA are both a go for deorbit burn. So with that, we'll send it back to Dan and Kate at Hawthorne for the latest.
All right. Thank you so much, Courtney. Great to hear from the administrator. And we're in it now. We're kind of in the final stretch. This is what I feel like we've been waiting for the last couple of hours. And it feels pretty great to be here.
Yeah, it certainly does. In this next phase of the mission, Dragon has a series of steps to complete before returning Bob and Doug home. As you've heard us talk a little bit so far this morning, Dragon will maneuver to the correct attitude and jettison its trunk, which is the cylindrical, unpressurized part of the assembly. We need to expose the heat shield in order to prepare the capsule for atmospheric reentry. So we will, there we got a nice view of Bob and Doug in their suits. This is the first time we've seen them in their suits and in their chairs this morning. So there they are tapping away, preparing to initiate the deorbit sequence.
So what's really
let's
cool
talk a
is
little-
that they,
I was going to say, just like in the
Bob
lead
and
up to the
Doug
last couple of
actually,
minutes, we heard they had good
let me
suit
turn this down
checks.
just a little bit more.
Kate
Bob
described
and Doug
earlier,
were
once
in
the
their
leak checks are
spacesuits
complete, they'll keep the
yesterday
suit
for
supervisors will
undocking. And they were in the exclusion zone, or the keep out zone of the ISS for a while, and then went ahead and moved out of the way, and now they're in their own orbit, getting ready for their deorbit burn. And I wonder when they start that deorbit burn. I don't know if they started on the other side of the Earth or fairly close to the Gulf. They got some foot straps. Their suits are pressurized. See, there's a couple more seats. There's one seat right there for another crew member. The next Crew Dragon flight's gonna have 4 astronauts, by the way. So this is just the beginning of something huge.
We're just 42 minutes and 50 seconds.
And then what you're seeing right here,
this is going to be when we
right there,
really start
this is
to
actually
do,
their umbilical that
first maneuver to get
attaches
ready to
from the
jettison
seat
trunk,
just right
and
to
then
their
we'll do that
leg,
claw and trunk
and then actually
separation,
keeps them
and then it's time for this
pressurized
kind of that
and
final
safe,
firing of
and
those engines
it gives
that really
tracks
gives
their
that
vitals and
downhill
provides
ride.
them with
Yeah,
adequate
those, forward
life support.
bulkhead thrusters.
It's
There
their
are
one
4 of
connection
them,
to the
4 of those
rocket
Draco
and their
thrusters.
suits.
They're
The
at
suits
the
are
top of the
connected to the
capsule,
rocket,
near the nose
and
cone.
or
Those
the
will be
capsule in
utilized
many
to
ways.
perform the deorbit burn. This burn is what will essentially give Dragon its final trajectory back home. This is the
So cool that
last
they're in that
burn
capsule
the
right
capsule
now.
will perform. If you've
Like,
been
this
following
is
along
this is the future.
since yesterday afternoon, you know that
All right,
there
let me
have
turn
been
this
a
back
number
up.
of burns completed. This deorbit burn will be the final one. It will last about 11.5 minutes. After that burn completes, we no longer need to utilize those Draco thrusters, and we want to protect the forward hatch up there, so we close the nose cone and lock it up. We're expecting that event to happen at 11:11 a.m. Pacific. About 10 minutes, or excuse me, 20 minutes, 25 minutes. Wow, mental math on air is hard. 25 minutes after that, the capsule will be re-entering the Earth's atmosphere, and like I mentioned,
By the way, they've been
approaching
talking all
about
morning, so I don't
3,500
blame them.
degrees, and that's because
we're in that heat of reentry, and so that's where things will really heat up for Bob and Doug on their reentry, and that's where we'll have that comms blackout. And we actually have a
Communication
Twitter
blackout.
question that's germane to this right now, where Steven asked, during the blackout, will you not be able to communicate with Bob and Doug, but you will be able to track them? And it's kind of a mix. We won't be able to talk to Bob and Doug. We won't be able to send or receive any data from the Dragon spacecraft.
Correct.
So we won't have basically telemetry-driven tracking, but we know exactly where they're going to be as their orbit's already been calculated.
Dragon
We've
is
had
fully
this orbit
automated.
calculated since yesterday, essentially. It's gotten fine-tuned as we've done those burns. But we'll know exactly where they're supposed to be, even though we can't communicate during that time.
exactly. And even though we won't be able to send or receive signals or
on their
commands
own.
or telemetry,
Blackout
Dragon is
period, yeah.
designed to be fully autonomous. At that point, it is driving itself anyway, so there's really nothing to be worried about. Bob and Doug's primary function at that point is to monitor all of the telemetry that they see on their screens and to stay comfy.
Yeah, and once they're through that, that initial entry, we'll have that part called entry interface, which we kind of explained as that's when the capsule's really experiencing aerodynamics. They've been flying around in the vacuum of space with no air, so no lift, drag,
Those of you
stuff like
hopping in
that
right now, hit
on
that
their
like
capsule.
button,
And entry
subscribe.
interface is where they're really
Welcome to the channel,
starting to hit
and, thanks for
the
joining.
atmosphere, and it's affecting the capsule. And it'll continue to use its Draco thrusters in the service section to really guide it back home.
Yeah, exactly. So speaking of guiding it back home, here come the parachutes. At 11:44 a.m. Pacific or 18:44 Universal Time, we're going to be deploying the drogue parachutes. Drogue chutes are utilized for a couple of reasons. One, to continue to further decelerate the vehicle and also to stabilize it. Like Dan said, it will be experiencing some of those aerodynamic pressures, and so we want to make sure that the capsule is well and stable before we deploy the main parachutes. Those main chutes will be deploying at 11:45 a.m. and there will be 4 of them. Those will essentially deploy, and
if we're
it
gonna
takes
get
a
any
couple
live
seconds
views
for
of
them
them
to
coming
fully
back into
inflate.
Earth.
So it might look a little funny at first, but we assure you that they are working properly, and it just takes a couple seconds for the air to continue to catch in them and for them to fully expand to their large, rounder shape. So after those chutes deploy, it only takes 3.5 minutes for Bob and Doug to splash down. That'll be occurring at 11:48 a.m. Pacific, 18:48 Universal. And like we've mentioned before, our splashdown location is off the western coast of Florida. We're aiming for a location near Pensacola. Our recovery vessel Go Navigator is
wonder if they're
currently
gonna
in
talk about
location,
Starship on this
ready and
stream.
waiting for splashdown. They're actually
Get
going to be
people
waiting about
excited to
3
check
nautical
that out.
miles away from that splashdown point.
Listen,
Yeah, we got the call that they were on station. We also got the call that the NASA WB-57 airplane is in the air, and we've actually seen a couple of brief spurts of video. That's the airborne asset that we'll have. That WB-57 is a high-altitude research plane that NASA flies. It's outfitted with a number of imaging cameras. The main one that will be seen is an infrared one. If you watched the Demo 1 splashdown, which I'm sure you all did, you were able to see that first, and this is actually a glimpse of that WB-57 camera. We'll be getting this back, and if we acquire it the same time we did for Demo 1, we were able to see the capsule while it was still in that atmospheric reentry, so it was just this really bright light that all of a sudden lit up the sky, and that was the first view we got of Dragon. And so we'll use that to hopefully see during the entry, and then the initial parachute deploys, and then we'll have a couple more assets on the ground or on the water, on the boat, that will get a couple more views of Dragon as it delivers Bob and Doug safely to the ocean.
Yeah, so as you can hear, all of this excitement will be happening in pretty rapid succession. On your screen now, we can see closest to the camera,
excited
we
for
have
this. This is
NASA
gonna be
astronaut
crazy.
Doug Hurley. He is the pilot or the commander for this particular mission, and then two, there now on the camera to the right is NASA astronaut Bob Behnken. We are very fondly looking forward to bringing our space dads home this morning, and it looks like we mentioned before, that'll be happening in about an hour and a half. Again, targeting splashdown for 11:48 a.m. Pacific, 18:48 Universal Time. But like we mentioned before, the action really begins at the claw separation milestone, which is slated for 10:51 a.m. Pacific in about 38 minutes from now. So again, we are continuing to take questions this morning through Twitter using the hashtag AskNASA. Our next question comes to us from F1 Fanatic. Do the astronauts need to have face masks down during reentry? That is a great question. Very astute observation that
Everyone
those
needs their
visors
face masks
are
down.
in the upward position. So right now, these suits are unpressurized, and Bob and Doug are breathing just the normal cabin air. Those face masks, our visors as we refer to them, do need to be lowered and locked during the reentry period. We need the spacesuit to be fully enclosed during the more dynamic elements of operations, and certainly the reentry period is one of them. So we'll actually at one point during the deorbit burn preparation phase, we will actually hear communication between ground station, from ground here, mission control headquarters at SpaceX to Bob and Doug, just to confirm and double check that those visors are in place where they should be.
I'm going to add some
Our next
graphics
question
to my
comes to us from
background
Philip.
here.
Where exactly are the
One second.
parachutes stored before deployment?
They are stored on in two separate compartments on the Dragon spacecraft, on a side of the vehicle that has a deployable panel. The drogue parachutes are stored in the kind of the upper part. It's called the upper bulkhead, and they're deployed by two drogue motors or mortars. So pyrotechnics that are fired to actually deploy those drogue parachutes. Just further down the panel, kind of at the base of the spacecraft, is where the four main parachutes are stored. And again, those get drawn out by the drogue chutes. There are redundant systems in place to make sure
pretty good, actually.
That if the first set of mortars don't fire, you have backups to get these chutes deployed.
YouTube.
One fault
YouTubing for life.
Both the drogue parachutes.
If you guys were here for my live stream when DM2 actually launched, man, that was like a party.
What the vehicle's been rated and tested.
For those of you who joined that stream and liked and subscribed then, man, I had a lot of interest, a lot of people picking up on my channel then. So I appreciate you guys coming back.
Months in the lead up to the mission.
Man,
as parachutes obviously
I love
very
this channel so much.
Of the reentry.
I love all space channels.
This is
Shout out to SpaceX, Everyday Astronaut, Lab Padre, NASA Spaceflight. What about it?
Mission.
Man, I mean, there's just,
NASA
it's just growing,
SpaceX,
the whole space community.
Some experts who have been involved
It's great.
in
It's great to see.
missions for decades.
And to have a launch or a moment like this
are
happening
stored
today
under
is pretty crazy.
panels, and we'll see them.
You know,
basically
August 2nd is going to go down
as
like one of the biggest days in space history.
Different altitudes.
Yeah,
Just
those
saying.
panels are basically located above and below the side hatch panel. So if you are looking at the Dragon capsule,
your latest. You guys subscribe or
the
like,
anchor
and
point for those parachutes will
your name will show up on the
ensure
screen
that
with
the
a little
side
fun little
hatch
message and
will
some
effectively
emotes.
be as far away from the ocean surface as possible, ensuring that we're able to expedite the process of egressing Bob and Doug from the capsule and the whole recovery process as a whole. Great question.
All right, our next one comes from Scott. He wants to know, what are the tablets on their legs used for? What kind of devices are they? I think you've heard him call out a few times that they're using iPads on board.
Those are iPads.
And they're really just essentially their user manuals.
I'll go back
they're
up.
able to
Man, I'm
dial
just
up
so
different
thankful that a couple of you guys are dropping in and checking out the stream today. So whoever is dropping in, saying hi, or just taking a look, thank you for joining, man.
Just like the main
thank you for joining, and I appreciate you. I hope I can see you again on the next Space Meme review and all the other videos that I'm planning to do here.
Information source. Dragon doesn't have the big paper manuals that we were used to in the shuttle era and things like that. Just kind of streamlining everything as much as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we mentioned before, this is a demonstration mission, and so Bob and Doug's job here is to make sure that everything is working as it should be. So a lot of what they're doing is going to simply be monitoring, well, not simply, paying attention can be, especially whenever there's a lot going on dynamically around you, is staying focused can be tough. So it's not an easy job what they have coming up, but they will essentially be responsible for monitoring all the data and telemetry that is being received on screens. And part of the debriefing that will happen once they get back on land is quite simply, was there anything that happened in reality that you weren't expecting or differed from what you were instructed would occur? So making sure that in the future fully operational missions that we have, starting with Crew 1, launching later this year, that those crews are fully prepared and that we make those, essentially those instruction manuals that they do have access to as perfect as possible. Because it is essential that we have correct information and that the crew is informed and aware of all the operations that are going
Bob
on,
and Doug
regardless
home,
of
baby.
whether or not they may not,
So
they're
fun.
not the ones necessarily commanding, because the vehicle is autonomous. But it is important that they do know what's going on.
This is crazy.
All right, our next question comes
lot of
from
detail.
Sam. Might be the most important one of the day. Wanted to know if Bob and Doug can listen to the SpaceX webcast when they're inside the Dragon capsule. I mean, I certainly hope so. It's not like they have too much else on their mind.
Right.
No, they're not able to listen to us, but one kind of fun fact that always kind of makes us geek out a little bit is the crew members on board the space station will usually get NASA TV pumped up to them anytime their crewmates are launching or landing. So they're able to watch their friends and former crewmates as of just a few hours ago return home. So Chris, if you're watching, hi.
Great question. Another one comes to us from Ruhr Rocker. Does the Dragon capsule have windows where Bob and Doug can look out? Absolutely. Actually, one of my favorite pictures that Doug Hurley
are people
has
that
posted
oblivious?
on Instagram to date was actually
I don't
one of the
understand.
first
Like,
pictures
why are
he
people
posted at
asking
the
such
beginning of this
knucklehead
mission was a
questions?
shot of what he could see outside of Crew Dragon's windows.
Makes me mad.
There is a window located
like,
on
hey.
either side of the side hatch.
Pay attention.
And it certainly will provide visual confirmation that reentry is happening, like Dan mentioned before. They'll be able to see a little bit of the energy that's being expelled during the reentry period. You know, some of those pieces of the ablative material, as they heat up and are designed to flicker away, they'll actually be able to see that from the windows
window.
themselves. So it'll be quite the fireworks show.
All right, our next one comes from Joe. Wants to know, does the Dragon capsule have Netflix? Another important question.
Yeah, the answer to that is no. As our views here of the capsule cycle through, we'll be able to see what their screens look like. There we go. So there in the center screen, we actually have the ground tracking map. As you can see
Pretty
there,
cool.
actually it might be kind of hard to make out, but Dragon is actually crossing over the Atlantic Ocean, now approaching what looks like England and Ireland. So it will be crossing over into Europe soon. And also on those screens to the left and the right of that ground track screen were their telemetry screens. So those will be the interface that they use during the deorbit burn. And that's what they'll essentially use to make sure that everything is looking good and performing nominally.
Yeah, and I mean, that center screen that you just saw, that's essentially the same map that we've been looking at throughout our coverage here
pretty
today.
cool.
So they're looking at a lot of the same
It's all very
data that
cross-reference.
we're trying to give you guys down here on the ground. Just where are they over the Earth? Because it can be a little disorienting to look out the window and figure it out quickly. But they're able to see just how far along their orbit they are, where those milestones are coming up. So they can just, again, they're in a monitor mode and they're ready, locked and loaded to jump in if required.
I love it.
Our next question comes from Roshan, who 7-year-old.
Do you guys have any
wants to
questions
know,
for
why
me?
is the Dragon
Because I
capsule
can just let them
cone-shaped?
answer the questions, but I'd love to
For a
answer your
very
questions.
specific
If
reason,
you have any
and it's
questions,
why
drop them in
a
the chat,
lot of
please.
or
I
a
would
lot of
love to
spacecraft
talk
are
to
in
you.
a capsule shape.
Connect, you know?
When they were
This is
trying
the
to
space community,
really
so
figure
hit me
out
up with
the
any
most
questions, and I
efficient
will be
way
here
to re-enter the
to
Earth's
chat it
atmosphere,
up and show you guys pictures if necessary.
both from
It's a lot to go
handling
over
the
here today.
trajectory, without having wings like a space shuttle. starting over. When they were really first trying to figure out how to best shape a spacecraft to efficiently and effectively re-enter the Earth's atmosphere in the safest configuration. Where they essentially landed on was a cone shape, or a capsule shape.
Yeah.
There were very initial drawings that you could find all manner of spacecraft that were put into wind tunnels, but at the end of the day, all the way back in the early days of spaceflight when we were in
The cone shape
Mercury,
works.
and,
The blunt forced
very early days,
ablative
they were
shield is
able
the best way to
determine
re-enter.
That the capsule shape was really the most efficient. That shape of heat shield dissipated the heat the best.
Yep.
Was the easiest to control and was really the safest option.
Starship's
And
going to be
physics
really
haven't
testing
changed
out a lot of
since
these
the
waters.
60s, at least not a great deal.
It's crazy.
So that's why you still see a lot of capsule-shaped spacecraft, and it's really just for re-entering an atmosphere.
And now we talk about Starship.
Good question.
How does that work? You can't make Starship a giant cone. Well, it kind of is a giant cone, but it's going to be entering
there
like
on your
a
screen,
sideways cone.
again, we have live
You know?
shots coming from Dragon Endeavour as it is making its way back towards Earth. We are approaching the final steps of the day of the mission, in fact. And at 11:48 a.m. Pacific, 18:18 a.m. or p.m. Excuse me, Universal.
We're going to be here a while.
The splashdown of Dragon Endeavour.
Wow, we're going to
So
be
right
here
now,
a while.
Bob and Doug are essentially cycling through, preparing for what we call deorbit burn initiation. This will be where the deorbit burn is what will be placing Dragon on its final trajectory to a specific landing location. That location there were 7 possible ones. We determined the best one for today's re-entry to be off the coast of Florida near Pensacola. The recovery vessel Go Navigator is in place, ready and waiting. And seems like Bob and Doug are pretty comfortable there. They are in their spacesuits. The leak check has been performed, and we got the call out that it was nominal, so everything good there. Right now, those visors are in the up position. They will be closed and locked whenever we get into the dynamic portion here upcoming in just a few minutes. Checking my timeline here.
We're just about 24 minutes and 20 seconds from things really picking up. That's when we'll
24
start to
minutes.
get into the attitude to separate the trunk, and just about 8 minutes after that is when we'll start the deorbit burn.
Crazy.
And again, that'll be the longest burn of Dragon's return journey. The latest timeline we got had it lasting for about 11 minutes and 22 seconds. It'll be the last firing of those forward bulkhead thrusters.
Yeah.
The 4 Dracos at the very top of Dragon that'll eventually be covered up by the nose cone following the deorbit burn. And
I
as
forgot
we've
that
said
there was
before,
there was 4
that deorbit
Dracos. I
burn
thought there
is
was only
what
one up
commits
top.
them to coming home. When that
There's 4
happens,
pointing
that capsule
in
is
straight
re-entering
direction,
the Earth's
and there's
atmosphere.
like a
And
couple
that'll
on the
put
bottom
them
side and then a couple
essentially
on
on
the
a
top side.
collision course with planet Earth. It lines up their orbit to intersect with that splashdown point in the Gulf of Mexico.
Collision course. It's a great way to put it. Anyways, if you guys are checking this out, thanks for joining. Thanks for hanging out with me. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and put it in the chat. And feel free to like and subscribe to my channel. I'll have a lot more meme reviews and fun space-related videos coming up very shortly. So picking up the pace here. And I'm happy I can be live with you guys today. And I promised myself and a lot of people that I'd be I'd be doing this stream, especially when the hop happened. So I'm here for the hop, but I'm also here to support
And while
SpaceX
we
because this is a
have
big day.
Just a few more minutes until we get to that. We still have some questions coming in. Again, if you have one, jump over on Twitter, use the hashtag #AskNASA.
Should I ask something on Twitter?
This one
NASA?
comes from Scarif Survivor, who wants to know, does Dragon lose radio data contact with satellite or ground stations during re-entry?
Should I ask a stupid
And
question
the
like
answer
everybody
is
else?
really everything. As that plasma
Let's see.
builds up around the spacecraft, it essentially prevents signals being sent or transmitted or received by Dragon's antennas around the outside of the spacecraft. So it's both satellites and ground stations that it won't be able to communicate with. But again, Dragon continues flying itself. We know what its orbit is plotted out to be, so we know where it is, and we even know the expected time of that blackout in about 6 minutes. So it does lose contact with everything. We won't be able to hear from Bob and Doug until they're on the other side of that blackout, and then we'll reestablish communication with Dragon.
So cool. Reentry's got to be really
We have
scary.
another one
It doesn't
from
seem scary, but it just
Nettie Banda.
seems very
I'd like to know
scary.
how many seats are in Dragon.
So as you can see on your screen there are actually, I guess one is hidden, there are actually 4 chairs there available. We will be
cool.
utilizing all 4 seats on the Crew 1 mission launching later this year, currently targeted for September. Right now, Bob and Doug are only occupying 2 of them, as
Weather
this
is
is a
perfect for
demonstration mission.
Splashdown.
So yeah, we will be utilizing all 4 of those seats in future missions, but as of right now, I believe it was on the launch portion of the mission, one of those seats was occupied by Tremor, who, if you've been following along, is the sequined dinosaur that was voted on by the 2 sons from Bob and Doug as what should be the 0G indicator. So Tremor was strapped into a seat during ascent, and when they got the okay to release him, he started floating into the capsule and you know, gave us its sequined glory there on the edge of space.
All right. Well, again, just another time hack as we're coming up on these. We're just a
Wow.
little over 20 minutes from the start of all
Some
of our
people ask the
deorbit burn
dumbest. I'm looking at this
starting.
tweet.
So we're looking at that to really pick up at about 10:48, as we'll start getting into the attitude for trunk separation, and then we start basically executing a bunch of steps that are going to commit Bob.
All right, I know what to ask NASA.
Yeah, we're looking forward to those.
Will-
It'll be quite the journey. Now, of course, with respect to the deorbit burn, Bob and Doug will remain in their seats and strapped in for the entire duration. In fact, they won't be exiting those seats until they're able to egress or exit the capsule after it has splashed down and been recovered out of the ocean and safely resting in the nest of the recovery vessel. Along that note, our next Twitter question is from Brett. The question is, what is the orientation of the astronauts when seated? As in, do they face the front or the top of the capsule, and do they find it comfortable? Great question there. So in the views that we just had a couple minutes ago, they were, I guess what we would call in the reclined position. They were facing towards the top of the capsule. During the launch portion, whenever they were actually getting into the capsule, back in late May, the seats were actuated in the down position where they were facing towards the hatch. The angle of difference is about 40 degrees between the 2 positions. They actuate in order to make sure that whenever there
A lot of audio going on here.
there are G's being
hold on, guys.
experienced,
So
that
here's
it
my
is in
question.
the most comfortable and
Here is the question that I'm putting on, which is kind of dumb. Ask NASA, will SpaceX live stream the star? It's like not even a NASA question, but it's you know, towards SpaceX. I'm just gonna do it because if everyone's asking questions about the orbital insertion and like going straight rather than in circles because they don't understand that the Earth is a circle. Okay, yeah, people are just asking really stupid questions. Will SpaceX live stream the Starship SN5 150-meter hop today? Godspeed, Bob and Doug. That's what I'm saying. Because I just, like, why is it that SpaceX doesn't really announce that they're doing streams for, because, like, with Starhopper, that stream just came up out of nowhere, and it was really random. And, you know, I know that the SpaceX installed a lot of different ground tracking cameras and streaming cameras, like on Starhopper and on some of the tank farm tanks at the Starship launch pad. So they better live stream it today. Like, if they don't, I'm screwed because I can't stream somebody else's. Well, I'll have to stream Lab Padres or something like that, but I just don't feel comfortable doing that for an X amount of time because I don't want to get claimed. So I'll put it in the description if I have to do a Lab Padre stream, but I'm just hoping that SpaceX puts up a stream of Starship. And we'll be here for a couple more, well, for the rest of the day, going over some memes, playing some music. I have to get some stuff done too, so you guys might have to hang out while I'm gonna restring my acoustic today and prepare to record some music tonight. And yeah, and I have I have no plans on actually filming another meme review. I actually had a meme review down the pipeline, but it just kind of became the memes that I went over, they kind of became old news, and I have to refresh it because I need my meme reviews to be kind of up to date. So my meme review that I shot and never put up was actually the DM2 launch memes, as well as the I think it was what happened in succession with DM2 that week. It was like DM2, and then it was like SN4 exploding, I think. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So SN4 exploded like the day before Bob and Doug launched, and then it's so funny. The day that Bob and Doug land on Earth or splash down, SN5 it does its hop. See how quickly these things could just like. This is how quickly SpaceX goes, man. It's pretty crazy. So yeah, I mean, this is just the rate of speed we're going, and this is what we kind of got to get used to here. Let me unmute this so we can listen back in to the dumb questions.
We are less than 20 minutes away from our first event here on our list as Bob and Doug begin to continue to check off the boxes of their return home. That first event is claw separation. That's essentially the initiation of trunk jettison. All of that means that we will need to unlatch the claw from the trunk. That is the mechanism that holds and connects the trunk to the capsule, delivers fluid, telemetry, power, all that good stuff. We need to expose the trunk in order for the capsule to deorbit. So we will jettison the trunk, and then we will begin.
That's my bad. Sorry.
In a deorbit.
Sorry, that's my bad.
1856 universal coordinated time. So in just under 23
hey,
minutes,
Connor,
we're
what's up,
expecting
man?
that to start.
Thanks for dropping in. Check out the commands, play some games, hang out for a while. You're all here, man.
Once again, if you're just joining us, we've got some live views inside the Dragon Endeavour capsule. Bob and Doug there in their seats as they are making final preparations and doing final reviews as we get ready to initiate the deorbit sequence.
Fun.
Closest to the camera there is NASA astronaut Doug Hurley, and further away from the camera is NASA astronaut Bob Behnken. These are two incredibly wonderful humans. We affectionately call them our space dads here at SpaceX. It's been such an honor to be able to fly them. Of course, Doug Hurley was actually the pilot of the final space shuttle mission, STS-135.
Correct.
Back in 2011. And honestly, when I heard that he was assigned to this mission, I cried because, just to have the opportunity to return the pilot of that final mission to the space station,
break the chain,
in this
break
capacity
the dry period.
is so cool.
So
and
awesome.
I've loved following this
so
mission since the moment that we started training for it here in Hawthorne.
Yeah. I mean, it just took us so long.
We know that they're ready. They've done all of their suit checkouts, everything to get themselves to this point.
But we proved that the trampoline
and
works.
Once we begin these
right?
events, they're going to keep a very close eye. As again, crew is always in the loop to step in. But Dragon going to be executing all of these different maneuvers and separation events automatically via a pre-programmed timeline. We're continuing to count down. We'll have our first maneuver in a little under 13 minutes. We're a little over 15 minutes from the claw separation. That claw connecting the service module to the Dragon capsule itself. A series of quick disconnects will retract, cutting off any of the fluid and data paths between the two. And then shortly after that, just a few seconds later, the trunk will separate. And then we will be just less than 5 minutes away from that deorbit burn.
Hey, let me I'll unmute this. I'll answer your question.
Expect last
Yeah, I'll turn that down a little bit. Nadav, thanks for joining. So the 150-meter hop is not happening yet. If you'd like to take a look at what's going on in Boca Chica right now, there's actually a live stream on YouTube. I'm not going to tell you to go to a different channel, but the hop has not happened. It's planning on happening today. It all depends on when they close the road in Boca Chica, Texas. And once it happens, it's going to be pretty freaking awesome. So if you want to go ahead and take a look at the Starship just sitting on the launch pad right now getting prepared, go to Lab Padre. That's LAB PADRE. Just Google search Lab Padre YouTube, pull up his 24/7 stream and put that on a different screen on your computer or phone, and you'll have a good update of what's going on, and we'll see if the hop happens today. There's a pretty good chance that the hop could get aborted, and that could be for various reasons. There's like literally a checklist of things that have to go right for a rocket to light its engine and go for a hop. So I hope you're excited for the hop, man. I'm really excited, and I hope you can hang out on my channel while it happens. I'll be here up into the hop today, so I'll be hanging out and waiting for it to happen. But the answer to your question is no, it has not happened. But thanks for the question. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to answer ask, and I will answer to the best of my knowledge.
During their descent. And then
You'd be surprised what I know about
SpaceX.
SpaceX.
To hear when the Draco thrusters fire. And one of the really cool things they've done to train the crew is SpaceX had a number of microphones placed throughout the cabin during that Demo 1 flight last year. And they were able to record what it sounded like inside through all of the major burns, the launch, the descent and landing, everything. And in the trainer upstairs here at Hawthorne at SpaceX headquarters, they have speakers set up where as they're doing simulations or practice runs.
Feel free to like this video and subscribe.
They're able to hear what it should sound like inside Dragon.
Go ahead and hit that like button now if you're joining. And press subscribe if you like space memes and fun space coverage. I live stream pretty much every SpaceX launch.
Is that a light I'm supposed to see? All
and
of those
Rocket Lab, everything.
That for them is like reflex by the time they've trained it this much.
Yeah, I stream essentially every launch that I can make, I would say. And if I'm not there to stream it, I am working or busy doing other things, but at the same time my channel has lots of different content like reviewing a Tesla and doing space meme reviews.
Well, at this moment we are less than 10 minutes away from this sequence.
Sorry. And I read books to people, apparently. I've done a lot of weird videos, and I'm excited for the next round of videos that'll be coming through on my channel. So if you want to join the fun, go ahead and press subscribe, and you don't even have to press the notification bell. I just want you to be there for the next couple videos that premiere, I should say. But again, thanks for checking this out, guys. Hit that like button, and I'll be here all day. We're going to be waiting for the hop, and we're going to be waiting for Bob and Doug to successfully splash down in the Gulf of Mexico near Pensacola.
And then Dragon will
this is sick, man. This is
so
so fun.
It's going to point those forward bulkhead thrusters
so fun.
Into the direction that it's currently traveling. This is called a retrograde maneuver, and this is done specifically we're going to slow the capsule down, but more than anything, we're changing the perigee or the lowest point of the capsule's orbit. Again, essentially putting it up on an intersection point with that spot in the Gulf.
They light those Draco thrusters right at the other side of Earth, essentially. What he's saying is they light those thrusters and the Dragon that are pointing up on the tip of the nose, and they light that at apogee so that they can decrease their perigee down. So you have to do things on the other side of Earth to change your elliptical orbit. Let's do this. Let's see what happens to their body, too. Hold on. Their body. What am I saying? What happens, like, if we can see any G-force or anything from those Draco thrusters? Let's see. Let's see here. Watching now. Uh-oh. Why is it so... Why is it at 480p? I need better quality. There you go. Yeah, I'm excited too, Nadav. It's crazy. Today is like the Goliath of space moments. You know, Starhopper happening in you know, when did Starhopper happen? About 13, 14 months ago. And for another hop to happen a year later from a vehicle 3 times as large as Starhopper is just, you know, it's just madness. So there's Dragon right there, just on the west side of India, the west coast of India in the Indian Ocean, doing its burn, and they cut the microphones down just to focus in and see how successful this goes. We have a lot of SpaceX engineers at Mission Control. We have Gwen Shotwell in the middle wearing her mask. Front row middle is Gwen Shotwell, the blonde woman, and she is the SpaceX operations officer. She's the she is the one who makes the deals. So we'll listen in here, but I guess I'll talk because there's really nothing else going on. Cool, man. So hit me up if you guys have any questions. This is a pretty big moment. This is the last of the burns. Obviously, there's lots of different Draco burns to change its orbit, to traverse around the International Space Station after undocking and going in front of... It actually goes in front of the space station, I believe, and it leads
Dragon
and
SpaceX
lowers
for
its
deorbit
orbit.
sequence.
Okay, here we go.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
All right, Doug, we are 5 minutes out from deorbit sequence start. In addition, just wanted to inform you we are expecting some Radicom during claw and trunk sep due to vehicle orientation.
Claw and trunk sep.
Okay, copy. We see 445 left for the slew, and then Radicom during the claw sep.
Good read back, Doug.
Oh, it's really cool, man. This is so futuristic. There's no paper anywhere. There's no manuals or buttons. There's just 3 touch screens and a small team of mission control engineers, and then NASA is just monitoring their astronauts. You know, this is all SpaceX. This
Hey,
is
we
really
are
special.
almost 4 minutes away from this starting.
Yeah, we just heard the call out there, confirmation from SpaceX Core down here at Mission Control
Okay.
to Crew Dragon that we now under 5, but at the time of the call, 5 minutes away from deorbit sequence start. So like we've been mentioning before, that deorbit sequence will involve separating from the trunk and performing the deorbit burn. As you may have noticed on your the ground tracking map that we've been showing you before, Bob and Doug were in their last orbit around Earth. I can't remember what the number was that you quoted earlier, Dan, but they have done thousands of orbits around Earth during their 2-month duration on station. So it is really exciting that the line that we see on that trajectory
It's
map
finally ending.
is no longer fully around it. They're coming home.
We're not seeing 2 lines showing what their next orbit is going to be. They are on their final orbit of planet Earth.
This is awesome.
And this is their 1,024th orbit around our planet since
1024
they launched back in May of earlier this year. So
Holy
we're
crap.
counting down. We're under 3 minutes away from
1024,
that first maneuver, and that's going to be a slew.
Connor, are you here
down.
listening to this?
And that's
That was
essentially
their
we're gonna change the
10,024th
attitude. We're gonna use
orbit.
those Draco thrusters to
Whoa.
essentially spin Dragon about 90 degrees to the side, so we can jettison
That's one
that
nice
trunk.
round number, isn't
And
it?
that'll be done in 2 stages. We'll do the claw separation and then the trunk separation. 2 minutes, 32 seconds, and counting. This is where things really pick up.
Wow.
This
See,
is
that's
where we
I
really
love when
commit
my
to
mind
coming
gets
home,
blown.
And this is where we're in kind of the final
1024th
stages
orbit.
of Bob and Doug's trip in outer space. pretty soon we'll be seeing them in the Gulf of Mexico.
About 90
well,
minutes.
they are staying comfortable and
Or
continuing
12.
to
Yeah,
monitor
this is coming
data
up soon.
and
It's already
telemetry in the
noon my
vehicle.
time.
Dragon is actually
And,
doing a couple of things
2 o'clock
itself to
Florida
prepare
time.
for this deorbit sequence.
Crazy.
Dude.
Dude.
It's doing these things autonomously. It's isolating the thermal control system loops from the radiator.
Okay,
System
I'll
that
show you guys why
Bob and Doug
1024
cool,
is such a
while
significant
they are
number.
re-entering the atmosphere. Like we
So
said
Bob and Doug
before, the
have,
external temperature will reach
I should just
3,500
say
degrees
significance,
Fahrenheit,
yeah.
and
So
that thermal
the number
control system
1024 has quite the
is,
significance
what
because it's
helps
in
keep
measuring
it cool.
bytes, often used in
During
place
that
of
time
1,000
also,
as the quotients
Dragon
of
is
the units
initiating,
byte, kilobyte,
the
megabyte.
separation
So
of
it's
the
the number
claw
used in
mechanism,
technology
which
to
will
add up.
terminate the data,
It's
the
the
power,
divisor
the
of all
fluid
these
and the
these
fluid
different
connections between the capsule and the trunk.
bytes.
So
It's
right
a
now,
it's a
the
it's a
vehicle
computer
is
byte
preparing to
mechanism.
execute
So
that,
what does
and
it mean
we
spiritually?
are
Angel number
anticipating
1024,
execution
repeating
of claw
itself often in your life is an
separation,
indication
in
from
3 minutes
angels
and
that they are
35
helping
seconds.
you to think in a
So,
constructive
you know, we've
manner.
been here
The
for
guardian angels were asking
10
you to
hours,
approach
I
life with an
think, at this
optimistic
point. The
outlook
webcast as
if
a
you
whole
want to
has been
achieve your
going
desires
on
with the
for
ideas and
almost,
actions.
a little bit less than 24
Okay.
hours. So,
Okay.
you know, we're in the final moments here
That's
as
really
Dragon
cool
is
though,
moving.
man.
It's
1024 is
starting
that's such a
home,
cool
to
number.
bring Bob and Doug back to
This
Yeah,
is-
so there's
this is the
1024
moment that
bytes and
Dragon
1 kilobyte.
is in a
So
position to start coming home.
that's
The recovery
really
team's already on
yeah,
station.
that just
They
blew
have
my
been for
mind.
a
I'm
while
sorry that
after
I'm being a
all
nerd
the
about that, but
Pensacola. We are less
1024.
than a minute from starting all of these carefully choreographed sequences.
Oh, there's
to
Elon.
essentially split Dragon in half, get rid of that trunk.
Elon's
so
in
we have the
California.
capsule,
He's not in
point
Florida.
the
It's
heat
pretty cool
shield
actually.
Back down towards
He's
Earth
at the
following
headquarters.
that deorbit burn.
He's like, I'm not wearing a
We
mask.
bring them home. We are just about 30 seconds
Elon's
away
like,
now.
yeah, I'm
maneuvering Dragon
gonna
to get ready
I'm not
to
gonna wear a mask.
Get rid of that claw first,
You know.
and then that trunk separation.
fine.
There will be about a 35-second difference, or 35-second jump from separating the claw to separating the trunk.
I love
And
it.
we'll
I love
keep our
how the
eyes on
Elon's
the
right
ground
there.
track for you
They're
to make
getting
sure
some
we get
footage of Elon
exact
too.
locations of when these separation events are occurring. We're looking for both the claw and the trunk to separate cleanly, and then it'll be less than 5 minutes until
Cool,
we do
man.
the
I'm
deorbit
excited.
burn.
Yeah.
When
and
did
after
Elon
that,
walk in?
it'll
Dragon SpaceX deorbit sequence start.
All right.
Great
So
news.
Elon jumped in for
Never
deorbit
happened.
sequence. It's pretty cool. Perfect timing,
All right,
man.
so the Draco thrusters.
Give me
on
hey guys,
Dragon
give me a
starting
whoop
to
whoop in the
fire.
chat. This is awesome.
Now moving its way over to the trunk jettison attitude. We should be about 2 minutes away from the claw separation.
Here, I'll move my camera so that you can see Elon here. There he is. Boop. Okay, we're good. We're good. Okay, just wanted to move my camera so we can see the man himself. So fun. Okay. Yeah, give me a whoop whoop in the chat for Elon.
For those of
1024th
you that are
orbit
just tuning
and the
in,
deorbit
you
burn
are
happening now.
Just in time. At this point in the mission, we are now beginning to execute the final steps of Dragon Endeavor's return to Earth.
This is
Right now,
has
we
to
are
work.
performing the claw separation slew, which basically means Dragon is maneuvering itself into position, into the proper attitude in order to separate the Dragon trunk. And that will be initiated first by separation of the claw. The claw is the mechanism that attaches the trunk and the and the capsule together.
Yeah.
The claw is what delivers
whoop.
power and telemetry.
Tyler
and
40,
fluids,
checking
and
it out,
we
man.
need
Deorbit burn
expose
starting now,
the
man.
Heat shield.
Thanks
Right
for
now the
joining,
trunk is
Tyler.
blocking that. So
Tyler is
we
my
will jettison the
very good
trunk,
friend.
And we
Sweet.
will
Got the whole gang here,
then
dude.
have allow us to
You guys
maneuver
rock.
into the proper
Checking out the
attitude
channel.
to perform the deorbit burn.
No, not a lot of
which
videos
Dragon has
happening
performed a number of burns so
on this
far
channel, but
overnight, and
maybe
early this morning.
sorry, maybe I should pick
And this
that
will be
pace
the
up.
final burn
It's a pretty
that
good
the
stream
vehicle
so
has to
far. I'm actually
perform
very proud of this. So, thanks for joining, everybody. And if you have any questions, hit me up in the chat. I'm happy to answer any of your questions in the most educated way possible. I do know quite a lot about SpaceX. Not everything, obviously, but you know, I am a river of information, so to speak.
And we just heard confirmation.
Oh, so we actually have
Confirmation
Dragon.
of claw set.
Okay, we actually have Dragon. See that yellow line right above my head,
Claw separated
right
now,
over there.
standing by
That's
for
the
trunk
deorbit
separation in
sequence right
less than
there.
30 seconds.
Wow. This is perfect. Okay, so 30 seconds away. Is that orange thing the deorbit? Like are they going to burn all the way across Australia?
10 seconds till trunk
Huh,
separation.
we'll see. Oh, Elon's got his mask on now. That's funny. Sorry, he just put his mask on, so I'm laughing.
We just heard confirmation of
Oops.
trunk separation.
The trunk separation.
Move my
coming in
camera back here.
10:52
Yeah.
a.m. Pacific, with Dragon flying over the Indian Ocean just off to the west of Australia.
Dragon SpaceX, we showed nominal trunk jettison.
Elon's making some jokes.
Oh yeah, we felt it.
Oh, we felt it.
All
That's
right.
awesome, man. This is so cool.
Crew just got the
We're
call.
listening to the
Nominal
astronauts
trunk
right
separation.
now,
That's
you know, in the
exactly what we were
capsule.
looking for.
Well,
Next up is gonna
my
be that
stream's a little late, but, you
that
know,
deorbit burn.
within the
Again,
minute,
This is the longest
you
burn
know?
of their trip home. This is the longest firing.
it's the power of the
those
internet.
Thrusters, and the last time we're using those forward bulkhead thrusters.
Exactly. Those forward bulkhead thrusters, like Dan just said.
If you guys
that's
have any
what we're
questions, hit
using
me up
to
in the
perform
chat.
the
Like I
deorbit
said,
burn. Once we,
I'm happy to talk
do
about
that,
whatever.
we will then be
Starlink,
able- that deorbit
SpaceX,
burn will last for 11 and a half
Starship,
minutes.
Dragon,
Once that is
Elon,
completed,
Gwen,
we don't
whatever.
Need to use
Hit me up.
those thrusters anymore, so we will close and lock the nose cone in preparation for re-entry.
So we're a little under 3.5 minutes from the start of the deorbit burn.
Okay.
Again, our sequence of events has started.
I
We're
love
able
how
to
the
separate
astronauts
that claw
felt the trunk opening.
10.
They can feel it.
51
Well, I'm
AM
sure.
Pacific.
You know,
That's
they're in a vacuum,
17:51
so they can feel
GMT
literally
or
every
Universal Time.
every single micro
10:52,
movement
just a
they
minute later,
can
the
feel.
trunk separating while Dragon was flying just off to the west of Australia. So claw separated, trunk separated. Next up, deorbit burn.
Yeah, right now, Dragon is running exclusively on battery power now that the trunk is separated. Also, right now, telemetry is looking really good for the vehicle. The nitrox system is primed for cabin and suit cooling, and the heat shield is exposed and ready for atmospheric re-entry. Like I said before, that nitrox
Oh,
system, which
trunk
is
jettison.
essentially the air that we breathe every day down here on Earth.
Sorry,
nitrogen
I just
and
realized.
oxygen combination, a mixture.
Where did I
It's the
learn my
same stuff
space
that they
info?
put in your scuba tank if you are a scuba
Hmm.
diver. The nitrox system is used to cool the cabin
Okay.
and the suit to keep
I'd
the
happily answer that
crew
question.
comfortable during the re-entry phase.
After I load a loop
they
in
will
here.
actually have cold air flowing through their suits themselves, as well as through the cabin itself.
What you're
So
hearing on my
a
microphone is
two-pronged approach to maintaining a comfortable,
the airplane outside.
comfortable temperature there inside the capsule.
Okay,
Like we said,
so-
the next event that we have
Sorry,
coming
I'm, like,
up
listening to
will be
everything here.
the deorbit burn.
so
which we're expecting that
I
to
learned all
last
my space info
minute and 40
through Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut, through Engineering Today on YouTube. A lot of great information came from What About It, Felix from What About It down in Germany, who does his weekly videos, and obviously from just reading reading Elon Musk's bibliography and
according to the
reading about
ground tracking map
look
there,
his
Dragon is
his assistant.
approaching the southwestern coast
Elon's
of
like, yeah, sure, I want some
Australia.
snacks. Okay, so yeah, so I learned when Falcon Heavy happened, the first Falcon Heavy test flight, I actually watched that live stream, and I think back in 2018, that's when I got most.
We're excited.
Jinx.
we are inside a minute to
Oh, it's a
deorbit
minute.
burn.
Okay. There were so many things that I wanted to learn after that, and I got so inspired by the Falcon Heavy launch that I just kind of just got into it, and I watch about a video a day on spaceflight. You know what's the best is Scott Manley. That's where you'll learn all about orbital mechanics and physics and all that stuff. So Scott Manley on YouTube is shout out to Scott Manley for being one of the biggest space YouTubers out there. So yeah, it's kind of where I learned, and with live streaming, I learned a lot from Tim Dodd and how the sequence works, and that's kind of where it started for me.
Again, we are aiming for just off the coast of Pensacola, Florida.
Just go to
Our
YouTube,
recovery
Connor.
ship, Go
Lots of
Navigator,
YouTube
is ready
channels
and
to
waiting
subscribe to. You just got to listen to
begin
me
the recovery process
when I tell
right
you to watch
after
these
Splashdown
videos.
occurs. Once again, if you're just joining us, we
I
are
spend
now
less
in
time
the
watching conspiracy
final
videos and
steps
more time
of
watching
the
space
deorbit
videos.
sequence. The
Because it's
deorbit
not a
burn
simulation.
will be starting here in just a couple of seconds.
No, it is a
And we just
simulation.
heard confirmation deorbit burn has begun.
Okay.
That coming at 10:56 a.m. Pacific. Again, while the Dragon spacecraft just off the southwestern coast of Australia. So here we go. 11 more minutes to go.
I'm ready, and I'm sure it's safe to say that Bob and Doug are ready. They've done a number of interviews over the last few weeks while they were on station, and
I wonder
just
what
the
shirt he's wearing.
excitement and the enthusiasm for the mission is palpable. Just the opportunity to be able to fly these two incredible humans to the International Space Station and back is such an honor, and we're just really excited to get our space dads home safely and back to their families as quickly as possible. This deorbit burn that we are currently in, it will last 11 minutes and 22 seconds.
It's a long burn, but they're low thrust engines.
Already
That's
a little
why.
more than a minute 10 in counting, so we have about 10 minutes to go.
You just gotta subscribe, mate.
Call.
Just subscribe,
Propulsion
my mate.
system performing nominally. That's the word we always want to hear. We always like to hear.
Connor, did you hear that? You didn't comment back, but this is their Bob and Doug's
Just under 10 minutes to go left in this burn.
1,024th
And
orbit
all within the last 10 minutes.
since they went up,
Again, it seemed like
which is a
we
very
had
significant
slow
number that you
progressive
mentioned
events
this
all
morning.
and then boom, within the last 10 minutes, we had a couple of things happening.
Crazy.
Dragon maneuvered itself
turn this back
into
up.
the appropriate position to jettison its trunk, and it did so successfully, nominally, and then it
Nominally.
initiated the deorbit burn just a couple minutes ago. Like I mentioned earlier, this deorbit burn is the last time those 4 forward Draco thrusters will fire. Forward kind of meaning at the top of the capsule. Dragon Endeavour has not yet entered Earth's atmosphere, but this deorbit burn is what will line the vehicle up and put it on its final trajectory to the landing site in the Gulf of Mexico. Right now, although we can't see it at the moment, Bob and Doug are using their screens to keep tabs on the burn duration, Draco thruster firings, and trajectory details such as entry angle, capsule perigee, and how much distance is remaining
Right.
until that deorbit burn terminates.
Okay.
So Dragon is flying
all
itself, so
calculation.
all they really have to do is stay strapped in their seats and keep tabs on things.
Doug, if you get out of your damn seat, I swear, we're gonna put you in the kennel. No. Don't loosen your seatbelts. It's gonna be like when SpaceX does like public flights, like non-government.
So while this burn is completing,
astronauts.
again, we're just a few minutes into it. It'll last 11 minutes and 22 seconds.
Keep your hands and feet.
We have a couple more events
Hold
coming
on.
up afterward in...
Once we get like millionaires in the Dragon capsule going up to the space station, SpaceX is gonna be, please keep your hands and feet in your seat, and if you undo your seatbelt, you're gonna go to space timeout for 6
essentially when
minutes.
we will be deploying the drogue parachutes.
Enjoy
the
space.
small parachutes
Enjoy
that are
space
designed
timeout.
To further slow down the capsule as it is re-entering the atmosphere, as well as stabilizing it. And then a minute after that, we will deploy the drogue parachutes, and that is targeted for 11:44 a.m. Pacific, 18:44 Universal.
So in 45
And then
minutes.
just a couple minutes after
Cool.
that, we will
This is happening
have
right now.
Splashdown.
Splashdown.
So again, that's all in just under 44 minutes. Right now, we are performing the deorbit burn.
We've got a little over 7 minutes left in this burn. And the only performance call we've gotten so far is everything's still looking good with the propulsion system on Dragon. Once this burn
Send 'em
completes,
down,
we
baby.
will have kind of a couple minutes.
Send 'em
About
down.
3 minutes to catch our breath before things pick right back up and we get the nose cone closed. and then there'll be a bit more of a gap, and at that point, they will maneuver Dragon to its entry attitude, essentially heat shield pointed down and into the
Blunt
the
side
line
down.
of velocity, and that heat shield protecting them from the heat of reentry. Temperatures getting up to about 3,500 degrees on the Dragon spacecraft, but everything looking good. We're about 5 minutes into this deorbit burn. Again, it started
That's
right
scary.
at 10:56 a.m. Pacific
That is
time.
so scary.
56 GMT. Dragon was flying about 260 statute miles just off the southwestern coast of Australia.
Pretty big. Excuse me. It's a big moment, and it's very scary. I mean, to be in a small capsule, it's only about 12 feet wide, and to have it sending you, autonomously sending you back down to Earth for a controlled, I don't
Right
even know
now,
what to say.
during this burn,
Controlled encounter with the Earth from
we just heard a call that we're
About
halfway
there,
through the
about
burn
70
and
miles up
everything is
before
looking
this.
great, everything performing nominally. During this burn right now, Bob and Doug are currently monitoring the deorbit tool, which, like I said earlier, captures things like the perigee, the reentry interface, how much time, or excuse me, how much distance remains before the burn itself is terminated. They're also monitoring the burn duration and the firing of those Draco thrusters located there at the on the forward bulkhead of the capsule. There on your screen, you actually can see what Bob and Doug are seeing right now. That is that tool on their screen. So on the left and the right of the center screen, that is the deorbit. That is the deorbit monitoring tool.
They're on a collision course with Earth from about 70 miles up. And what's crazy is that space is not that far away. If you were driving a car directly up from the ground up, you would get to space in essentially 45 minutes to an hour in a car, because it's literally just 75, 68, 70 miles up is where the line of space is. So what's crazy hard is that they're traveling 10 times the speed of a speeding bullet, a shot 40 bullet, and they need to slow down. They need to burn off as much velocity as they can coming back in when they're re-entering, and they need to make sure they don't burn up. So that blunt force side of the Dragon capsule.
24 seconds Pacific was the calculated time.
So what we have actually, it's like perfect little demonstration here. So we have our Dragon. Well, hold on, let me switch over to the camera.
We're already through several of the really major steps to initiate this re-entry. The claw is separated, the trunk is gone, the deorbit burn has begun.
Okay, it's not the best picture, but it's all right. So here we have the Dragon capsule, right? And the trunk actually separated already. So that's when we heard Bob and Doug said, oh yeah, we felt that. They felt mostly half of the vehicle just getting taken off. SpaceX may or may not recover this, because when this splashes down in the ocean, and this has carbon ablative material on it too. This is all heat shield. This can survive the atmospheric reentry. This could survive and be recovered in the ocean, but not really sure. Actually, no, it can't. I think this actually stays in orbit. That's a good question. Okay, but anyways, we have the Dragon capsule right here. We had the forward hatch open. We have 4 Draco thrusters right here. So the Dragon, so if oh man. So if we have Earth, hi, this is Earth. If we have Earth right here, we have the Dragon essentially positioned like this and going around. Those Draco thrusters fired upright, so the Dragon is now coming in. Well, where's the Gulf of Mexico? Right. Where's the Gulf? Oh, I guess it's like right here. Okay. So right on his fin. So it'll come down, and it'll use its blunt side, carbon ablative material right here. This is not exactly what it looks like. This is just a 3D print, by the way. See that? But this carbon ablative material will be the blunt side where all the plasma will hit it. There's actually a bow shock effect. So when air is traveling through, it actually goes up and out. So it hits the blunt side and then it goes out. It does not touch this area. That's why it's a nose cone, because when there's plasma going outside and hitting it at supersonic speeds, it keeps the astronauts safe, and it keeps the inside the capsule around 85 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's what keeps them safe. It's going to come back down with a lot of it's going to look like a marshmallow, not going to lie. And I'm sure a lot of people in the media are going to be saying shit like, you know, SpaceX capsule comes down burnt and messed up, but the astronauts are safe. Dude, the capsule was built for that, and it's going to splash back down. It's not going to be white like it is on ascent and in orbit. It's going to burn up because Earth's atmosphere is brutal. So again, we have our trunk floating around in space. It's probably just going to be out there for a while until we recover it in the next 50 million years. And then we have our Dragon. So right now we have this guy.
See Bob and Doug come back through the atmosphere.
I wish this could just like sit on my head. It's too dangerous. But anyways, that's that. I'll put it right there so we can keep it in frame.
They're not actually re-entering the atmosphere just yet. That won't happen for about another half hour or so. This is essentially just lining up Dragon on the right.
I just don't want my buddy to fall. My celestial buddy. All right, guys.
Still at an altitude of about 254 statute miles over.
Sweet. Thanks for dropping by, everybody. Thanks for dropping a like. If you have any questions, hit me up in the chat, and I will be more than happy to answer your questions live here on YouTube. For the 5 of you out there, seriously, thank you so much for considering checking out my channel. I'm Bradley with Mars Meditation, doing space memes. Deorbit burn complete.
Nose cone closure initiated.
Deorbit burn done, guys. Okay, cool. I'll turn this back up, by the way. But I do a lot of fun videos, like reviewing Teslas, doing space meme reviews, even traveling to. My first video was a video of me traveling to Florida to watch the Falcon Heavy Arabsat 6A launch, and I have a really shitty GoPro footage of the two boosters landing, but it kind of gives you perspective of what you can see from the coastline of Florida when a Falcon Heavy goes up. It's really fun. And on this channel, very, very soon, I will be taking a trip to Boca Chica, Texas, and I will be checking out probably SN8. I'm probably going to be going up when SN8 does its flight. I think the 20-click flight is going to be one of the most incredible things ever to see, even if it explodes. The 150-meter hop, I wish the world wasn't in the state it's in today. Otherwise, I'd definitely be in Texas to check out the 150-meter hop, as would every other YouTuber. But it's just not safe to travel right now. So once things clear through, I'm going to be in Texas doing more YouTube videos for you guys. So very excited for that. Let's switch back over here. Latches secured, nose cone closed, and deorbit burn done.
It's opened a little bit more than 90 degrees. I think the exact count was 110 degrees.
Okay, let's listen in.
Opening range.
I'll shush my mouth.
Or range of motion for the nose cone. So we're a little more than halfway now to getting that nose cone closed.
So I have just heard that we have a visual on nose cone closure. So it'll take a minute for the hooks to close in. They close in a series. So the first series will close and then the second will follow, and that'll take about a minute to complete.
Nice. All right. This is looking good, guys. It's looking really good. Wait, am I loading? Wait, what's going on? Oh, I just had a little blip. I had a little blip there in my network connection. I apologize. Hopefully you guys can still hear me okay. If there's any issues, let me know. I'm here to
All right, well, as we just wait for the finish to that nose cone closure, we'll have a bit of time again. We'll have about 20 minutes, or a little over 21 from right now, until we really start re-entering the Earth's atmosphere. We're expecting that entry interface in about 21 minutes. And then right around that time, we'll also be looking for that blackout we've been talking about. We've had a little bit of what we call radicom at this point. So you'll hear kind of some sporadic interruptions in the audio transmission just because of how Dragon was oriented for the trunk jettison and for the actual deorbit burn. But that blackout period will be due to the plasma that builds up around the capsule, interfering with those antennas either sending or receiving data.
So I've heard the call out that the first set of hooks for nose cone closure are in motion. So this will complete in 2 sets. The first set is now in motion. So really good news to hear that. Everything looking good so far. Like I mentioned before, in the background, Dragon has inhibited the forward bulkhead Draco thrusters that we just used to complete that deorbit burn. This is to ensure that it's safe to latch that nose cone shut for reentry. Also, the vehicle has initiated the nitrox
That's a
purge.
good question from
Nitrox
Tim
is simply a mixture of nitrogen and oxygen. It's what we breathe. And the nitrox that is being purged into the system is cooled, so allowing that cool air to circulate around the cabin, but also inside of Bob and Doug's suits will help to keep them cool and comfortable during re-entry.
Nice.
Which will be coming up in about 20 minutes.
So even if it gets toasty, their suits are keeping them cool. You know what I mean? They're not gonna.
Currently
They're not even gonna
tracking
break a sweat.
23
That's what's
minutes
beautiful about
and
the
20
re-entry.
seconds until entry begins. So in case you're just joining us at this point, the nose cone has closed. The forward thrusters have been disabled, and we are latching the nose cone. Currently underway with the first set of hooks. The first of 2 sets.
Nice. Okay. Give me 1 second, guys. Okay, sorry about that. I am back. I had to test out some audio here.
Expecting that to last for about 6 minutes, and then we'll get that back shortly before.
Latch is closing. What is going on with my internet? Wait, no, this can't be me. I'm still good. This is just buffering for everyone. Wait.
Before we
Let's do auto.
Deploy the drogue parachute.
Ugh, that makes me so mad. Like, what are you doing? Wait, how many
So
people
there
are
in the
watching?
front row of mission control in the center, you can see CEO Elon Musk and our president.
Wow.
CEO Elon Musk and our president Gwen Shotwell.
Sorry, guys.
Sitting side by side at those
We're
center
back.
consoles. In addition to those two, the room is filled with Dragon operators and mission leaders who are continuing to monitor the health and telemetry of the crew and the capsule. Right now, nose cone closure is underway. The first of 2 sets of hooks. We just heard a call out that the
Dragon,
nose
SpaceX nose cone is secure for entry.
Copy. We see it on board.
All right, great confirmation there. Back and forth from Mission Control here to
All right.
Bob and Doug up in Dragon Endeavour.
It's looking good.
That Bob and Doug have also confirmed on their displays that the nose cone has closed nominally and it is secure for entry.
And by the way, this is almost the exact same process in which they return the first
So that
variant.
nose cone close
Dragon.
completion. A lot of
The
tongue
cargo
twisters with this
variant.
right now.
So they've done this
with Dragon
many
still
times
flying
before.
over the South Pacific.
The only
It
difference
is
now
on its way
is that there's
home.
humans
We're
on board.
going to gradually
it's
start
the
to
Dragon
see
too.
its altitude dip. Right now, already only 207 miles over the Earth's surface. It was at about 260 miles when it was still over on the other side of the Pacific Ocean off the southwestern coast of Australia when it fired its engines for that deorbit burn. So its altitude going to continue to
Oh,
drop.
wow.
Once it gets to about 100 kilometers in altitude, or about 62 miles, it's going to begin what's known as entry interface.
Yeah.
And that's
Okay.
when it really begins to start to feel the effects of the Earth's atmosphere. Will once again
Okay.
be experiencing lift and drag as it's no longer in that near vacuum environment in low Earth orbit.
Yep. So the edge of space is about 68 to 70 miles. So that's when the atmosphere is no longer the atmosphere. That's the Kármán line. That's when you pretty much transition from space to Earth.
So we're essentially stepping into the
sense.
second half of entry.
So they're 200 miles up. That's crazy to think about.
Dragon is now beginning to flush nitrox into the cabin and continuing to top it off in Bob and Doug's suits as well. Again, this is cool air essentially flowing through the cabin and the suits. This is what will allow them and the cabin itself to remain comfortable during reentry while those external temperatures reach 3,500 degrees Fahrenheit. At this point in time, Dragon's orientation is such that the heat shield is pointing forward, if you will, leading the capsule toward the landing site.
Correct.
If you've been following along over the last couple days, you know that weather has been a big ticket item for us. The recovery team has been busy over the last week working to determine the selection of a landing site. In order to increase the options for space station departures, the team identified a total of 7 possible splashdown locations. In order to meet NASA's timeline requirements for crew recovery, these potential splashdown locations have to be close to a port, and they have to be close to medical facilities. So with all of that in mind, you add the ever-evolving weather conditions of Florida, but also that tropical storm Isaiah that was moving through. And it's easy to see how determining that landing site is quite a complex process. Since Dragon is capable of splashdown on either side of the Florida Panhandle, we in fact have 2 identical and fully equipped recovery vessels ready to support. One in the Gulf of Mexico, which is what we're utilizing today, Go Navigator, and the other located off the east coast of Florida, able to service landing sites in the Atlantic Ocean. That one is Go Searcher.
Yep.
Like I
2
mentioned,
recovery
today we'll
ship
be splashing
vessels.
down in the Gulf of Mexico, just off the coast of Pensacola, Florida.
Ay-yi-yi.
Go Navigator, that recovery ship I just mentioned, is in place and ready and waiting for Bob and Doug. The WB-57 plane, if it hasn't taken off already, I'm sure it will be very soon.
Yep, it's in the air.
Okay, great. That's what
You
will
can actually
provide
track
our
it, too.
first views of Dragon during reentry. We'll get a thermal cam off of that airplane, allowing us to see the capsule as it is re-entering the atmosphere. If you were tuned in for our Demo 1 broadcast, it was basically a big ball of light coming at us. We'll also have cameras on board the recovery vessel, so as Dragon gets closer and is deploying those parachutes, we will also be able to have hopefully
This
some
is,
really clear footage of that all occurring as well.
So this is the Go Navigator right now. This is the recovery vessel, and it's actually off the coast of Pensacola, Florida. ready to go ahead and capture the capsule. And it basically picks it up on this little crane here out of the water and shifts it over to this little pad right here, where they send it back to Florida. And Bob and Doug are they egress from the capsule and then get in the boat and quarantine for some time, and then they can live their normal lives back on Earth, which is a beautiful thing. This airplane that they were just talking about, I just saw a link for it. Michael Baylor just posted a link here. Let me see here. Michael Baylor is a awesome live stream producer and spaceflight reporter. Okay, so here's the airplane right now. This airplane is going to be getting some footage of the splashdown in the next couple of minutes here. And here is the tracker for it. So let's take a look at this. And for those of you joining right now, thanks for checking this out. Feel free to hit that like button if you feel this stream has quality to your standards. If not, that's totally fine. But I'm here. Ooh, this site can't be reached. That's not good. Well, he's saying that this is kind of like what they're doing right now. They're just flying in some circles. But hit that like button. I appreciate you guys checking out this channel right now, witnessing this moment with me right here, right now. I'm over here and you're over there. Let's see. So Dragon Splashdown occurring very shortly. Let's see here. Nose cone closure secured. Okay, so yeah, so it makes sense that all the eyes are on Bob and Doug right now, and then we are going to switch over to the hop. And I hope it's in quick succession, but there might be a little bit of time between the the two events today. Right, but I'll be here for all of it.
And those are going to pyrotechnics essentially to deploy those to do the initial slowing and stabilizing of the Dragon capsule.
Yeah, then after that, the main parachutes will pop out and further decelerate it to about 119 miles per hour. And then that will continue to decelerate. And by the time that the capsule is splashing down in the Gulf of Mexico, it's only going 16 miles per hour. So significant reduction in speed there over just the course of a couple minutes.
Yeah.
That, of course, is a pretty comfortable speed. The way that the astronauts have described it previously with other types of missions also landing down, doing land landings at about the same rate. They said it feels like you're in a minor fender bender.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're definitely running into something. You'll feel it, but they do a lot of work.
You can belly
with
flop
the
into
seats
the
and the
ocean
restraints with these crew members just to
you know
make sure. While it may be a fender bender, you got more than a seatbelt essentially holding you in. So they're very secure in their suits and in their seats, and they're going to stay in there even after Dragon touches down. We'll still have communication with Dragon. Once they're in the water, it'll stay powered on. Probably most importantly, the air conditioner will continue to work while they're in the capsule in the now Gulf of Mexico, and much warmer temperatures than they've seen for the last couple of months. And we'll still be able to talk to them from here in Hawthorne, and the recovery teams will be able to.
If you guys
as
have
well.
any questions,
Yeah.
Hold on. If you guys have any questions for me,
one of the
hit me
things
up
we
in the
might
chat,
see
please.
them do.
Please hit me up in the chat for any questions. I'd love to talk to you guys about this. I'm kind of coming up with a question in my head right now of what will be the testing process of this Dragon capsule if it needs to go through the procedural steps to be a reused capsule, because NASA has already announced various times that they are considering reusing boosters and capsules for future human spaceflight missions. So what is the campaign that needs to happen for the capsule to successfully pass all tests in order to certify for another flight, a reused flight? Because what we saw on April 20th last year was we saw quite a bit of explosions happening. Well, it was just the DM1 capsule, and they were relighting the Super Draco engines for the abort motors, and it exploded out there on the pad, and there was all of the what type of fuels are those?
in the Gulf just off the coast.
Those
of
toxic
Pensacola.
yellow fuels. What am I? Dang, I can't believe I'm blanking on this right now. But they're the fuels that are extremely toxic, and you don't want to have
SpaceX
those
for
around.
entry
And
brief.
yeah, so that actually exploded off the Gulf or near Cape Canaveral on a test stand.
Okay,
So
Doug, we have no update to timing because the burn went great.
I
and your
can't wait to
vehicle is
see
still looking
what they
really
do
good
with this
for entry.
capsule when
No
they
health issues
return
at
it
this time.
back. So and we're gonna see some videos of it returning to port as well. So it's gonna be pretty exciting, man. A lot of awesome footage coming out in the next couple days.
In addition, the recovery team is go, and the weather is still great. Winds are about 2 knots and waves about 1 foot.
If you guys have any
From
questions,
the
let me
ship,
know.
They're reporting very
I'm
calm.
here to answer your
How copy?
questions.
Copy. Good weather at the landing area. Thank you.
Great weather, by the way.
Okay, and
Winds at
last
about
piece
1
is
mile an
that we
hour.
do expect some additional RADICOM during entry prep 2 due to vehicle attitude. So if you can get us your entry check report a little bit prior to entry prep 2, we'd appreciate it.
Copy. We'll go.
You can hear
Okay,
it
thanks, Doug.
entering in right now.
So there we just had a bit of a briefing between Mission Control and Bob and Doug up in Crew Endeavor. Just confirming with them that the deorbit burn was great and that the timing on their pads doesn't need to be updated. We are able to upload new trajectory calculations, including times that remain live depending on how the burn goes, and at this point in time, those don't need to be updated. It is important that they do remain accurate because Bob and Doug, their primary mission right now is to continue to monitor the vehicle status and telemetry and data being presented to them on their touchscreen displays in front of them, and so. During the more dynamic events, they certainly want to be aware when things like parachute deploy will be happening and when splashdown is expected. So making sure that the timeline of events, the sequencing is accurate is certainly important in order for them to stay aware and updated of upcoming events.
Just another quick position check. Dragon still out over the Central Pacific, down to about 108 miles in altitude.
108,
We're
wow.
expecting that entry
Scrub
interface to come up in the
100
next 4
miles in
minutes
less
or
than
so.
40 minutes.
Again, at that point, Dragon should be at an altitude of right around 62 statute miles, or about 100 kilometers. And that's when it really starts to feel the effects of the atmosphere. It starts to experience the lift and drag and other atmospheric effects it's been free from while flying in the near vacuum of low Earth orbit. So continuing to drop in altitude, still looking for an on-time splashdown. Should just be about 19 minutes from now.
Wow, that's so quick. Well, I'm sure you enjoyed your time in space, Bob and Doug.
And just a reminder, we do have that blackout period coming. So as they continue to dip in the Earth's atmosphere and get lower and lower, the atmosphere gets thicker and thicker and is going to generate more and more heat, eventually heating up the outside of Dragon to 3,500 degrees Fahrenheit.
Wow.
And as it hits that peak heating, it'll also be forming a plasma around the spacecraft. So we do expect to lose comm for about 6 minutes.
Yeah.
SpaceX Dragon crew entry preps are complete.
SpaceX copies. Entry prep complete. Thank you.
It's all up
Call
to
from
Dragon.
Spacecraft Commander Doug Hurley. Entry preps are complete. So they are on board. They are monitoring. They are
It is all up to Dragon, man.
Yeah, and as of right now, entry prep should have also included final configuration of their flight suits. So we had a question from our social media earlier if the visors will be up or down. Those visors should be down at this point as part of that entry prep check. In that last briefing, we also heard that the weather is looking good. In a previous report, the phrasing was, "It looks like glass." And that is certainly ideal for a water splashdown. That being said, the recovery timeline, Bob and Doug should be out of the capsule within an hour after splashing down. So good to hear that the weather is good. We saw blue sky.
I just did a 8-ball in the chat, and it said, I asked if Bob and Doug will make it back, and the 8-ball says never. Okay, 8-ball. We trust you.
Glad to hear that conditions are sustaining and that winds also
Back
are
up.
looking really good, around 2.5 miles per hour. So hardly anything at all. Really couldn't ask for better conditions for a splashdown day.
We kind of threaded the needle once again, almost like we did on launch with the weather today. Your upper limits for wind were about 10 miles an hour, so we're well below that threshold for a splashdown today. The Dragon coming up on 82 miles in altitude, continuing to dip down. We're expecting that entry interface to start pretty soon, where the vehicle itself's really going to start heating up. It's going to continue to use its Draco thrusters to maintain its attitude as it continues through the Earth's atmosphere. And we'll have that calm blackout coming up in just a couple of minutes as well.
Chat, hit up the commands if you want to have some fun. Let me know if you have any questions, and like
the
this
cabin
video.
purge has started again. This is when they're going to flush the cabin of Dragon with cooled air. They're also going to do a suit purge, running cooled nitrox through the suits for Bob and Doug just to keep things at a comfortable temperature for them as the capsule goes through the reentry and starts to heat up.
Pretty big. But thank you guys for joining nonetheless, even if there's nobody talking. It's all good. Still here to answer any questions for you guys, support you if you guys are confused or have any questions about this process. If not, let's just watch this together. I'm really excited. I want to see some telemetry on the screen.
So like we said, we are anticipating a brief blackout period where we're unable to communicate with the capsule. We're expecting that to start in exactly 3 minutes. That will last for 6 minutes total, and during that time we will be unable to command the vehicle or receive telemetry. That being said, Dragon is designed to be fully autonomous, so it's driving itself anyway. So Bob and Doug will stay fastened in their seats. Like I said, that anticipated loss of signal, or as you'll hear it called LOS, is anticipated to last for just 6 minutes. During that blackout period, the capsule will encounter what's known as entry interface. This is when the capsule is now really in the Earth's atmosphere and beginning to be subject to aerodynamic forces. This is also when a lot of that friction will begin to build up and raise the external temperatures.
Dragon SpaceX, we show 2 minutes until predicted calm blackout. We will see you on the other side at 1842.
Ooh, all right.
Dragon copies 1842. We'll talk to you then.
Talk to you then.
So there's that heads up communication from Mission Control to Dragon Endeavour, confirming that comms blackout. Like I was saying, during the blackout, the Dragon capsule will be going through entry interface, where it is encountering aerodynamic forces, really starting to build up the external temperature and that external temperature will reach about 3,500 degrees Fahrenheit. However, the interior of the cabin is environmentally cooled, so Bob and Doug should remain comfortable during their descent. There will be cool air flowing not only through the cabin itself, but also through their suits. The suits have sensors on them that are able to detect the temperature inside that suit, and once that sensor reads that it has reached the maximum temperature threshold, it'll flush the suit with some cool air and really circulate and cool it down.
All right, well, we are right around that estimated blackout time. As we heard the call, we'll see them on the other side, expected to regain that communication at about 42 minutes after the hour.
Okay, so in about.
So for these next 6 minutes, they're already less than 60 miles in altitude.
Wow.
And this is when the capsule is really heating up during that reentry, reaching temperatures of around 3,500 degrees Fahrenheit. As again, you're essentially hitting the atmosphere more than 17,000 miles an hour, and the friction building up that plasma around the spacecraft. And that's what's going to prevent us from talking to Bob and Doug or getting data back from the spacecraft for the next 6 minutes. Its flight computers are in control, though. It's going to continue to maintain its appropriate trajectory and attitude, having attitude determination to the capsule not reliant on communications with satellites. And it's going to continue dragging down the correct path for this splashdown off the coast of Pensacola. So we are in that blackout period. We're going to continue to stand by until we get them on the other side.
Pretty big. Huge moment right now. So they are just drilling through the atmosphere. 17,000 miles an hour, and decreasing, I'd say. As the air gets thicker and thicker, it's kind of like a reverse rocket launch, right? Like there's a maximum pressure, and then there's a
all right, and just about 2 minutes after we get acquisition of signal, AOS, back with Dragon, we're going to be looking for those parachutes, and we should hopefully be getting some views from a couple of our assets out at the landing zone, including our WB-57 high-altitude research plane, which is going to be relying on Dragon's telemetry to actually lock onto it in the sky and give us an infrared view of the capsule during the final stages of reentry. We're going to be looking for the drogue deploys at about 44 minutes after the hour. Those will be 2 drogue shoots that are going to come out when the vehicle is still moving at about 350 miles an hour. And it'll be at an altitude of about 18,000 feet. They'll come out and do some initial slowing and stabilization of the spacecraft, and then less than a minute later, they'll detach, and the 4 main parachutes will deploy. You'll see them come out and look kind of closed up initially, and then they'll do what's known as reefing, opening up in really 2 different stages just to minimize the immediate loads on the parachutes themselves. Those main parachutes will come out at an altitude of about 6,500 feet, with Dragon already slowed down to 119 miles an hour, and they'll do the rest of the slowing the whole way down until we splash down in the Gulf of Mexico. We should be 10 minutes away from splashdown.
It's crazy that from the Kármán line to the surface of the Earth is about 10 minutes, from 60 miles up.
So right now we're getting our cameras on the WB-57 airplane, which is in the area, getting those cameras ready to give us our first glimpse.
Should still have about 3 minutes left, a little less than 3 minutes, until we anticipate reacquiring our signal and our connection with Bob and Doug and the Dragon spacecraft.
This is like the vital
if
moment.
You're just tuning in, we are in a blackout period that
apparently we are. Where's my
we
signal?
were expecting. This blackout period will last a total of 6 minutes, and we're about halfway through there now. At the moment, Dragon is re-entering the Earth's atmosphere, and due to the plasma building up on the exterior of the vehicle...
Sorry. I don't know what's going on. Again. Okay. Sorry, yeah, my internet always does this, but my OBS is still streaming 4,300 kilobytes per second, so I have a pretty good, I've been live for two hours straight, which is pretty awesome. Probably gonna do 6 hours today if we can. Yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions in the chat, and again, I appreciate you guys joining in for this.
Our Dragon SpaceX comm check.
So we're still inside that anticipated blackout window. It does look like we are getting maybe some sporadic data starting to peek through. This is why you heard that
I'm having fun with
communications check with the spacecraft.
Dragon, SpaceX, comm check.
Denver has you loud and clear. We're about 3.9 Gs.
Why does the 8-ball not like Bob and Doug?
Copy, we've got you 5x5
What's up with that?
as well, Doug. Looking good, and you can expect an automated chute deployment.
The shoots.
Copy. It'll choose the flight.
Wow, you can hear them.
All right, really good news there. We have come out of the blackout period and we have reestablished connection with
They're good,
Dragon
no lie.
Endeavour with NASA astronauts Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley on board.
We were able to reacquire that communication a little bit earlier than expected.
Awesome.
And now we are just waiting. We should just be about 2.5 minutes away from that initial drogue chute deploy.
Yeah, 2 minutes and 26 seconds.
Drogue shoots?
AGPS has converged.
Wow.
Copy that.
You may have heard earlier that Bob and Doug are currently experiencing 3.5 Gs. Not too bad. That's about what they pulled during the ascent phase.
Yeah. They had 4 Gs on the
Just like a mild roller coaster.
yeah, they had 4 Gs when the Merlin vacuum engine was taking them up on the second
The
stage.
vehicle
to
is
orbit.
now over the Gulf of Mexico.
It was about the
it is
highest amount of Gs
approaching
that they felt getting into space.
The
was
landing
4
zone
Gs.
off the coast of Florida near Pensacola. And there we have our first shot.
Okay.
There it is. The first view from the WB-57 airplane. It is dipping in and out a little bit. This is going to be an infrared camera showing us Dragon re-entering.
What are we looking at here?
We have that comm back with Bob and Doug. You heard AGPS is converging. Dragon
Zoom
has
at 87.
3 GPS units that it uses actually in the parachute deployment process as it helps, along with the pressure sensors, really give a solid altitude to the flight computers on when these are supposed to deploy. We're standing by for the drogue chute deployments. We should be just under 5 minutes away
Where are
from
you?
Splashdown.
Oh, there he is. Little tiny dot.
Passing 15 kilometers, brace for drogue window.
Oh, man.
Copy. We're braced.
Just about 14 kilometers in altitude, 8.4 miles, continuing to descend.
There on your screen, we have
I'm
a
nervous.
shot of the capsule
This is making me
as
real
it is
nervous.
preparing to deploy those initial parachutes, the drogue parachutes.
Okay. There he is.
Again, these parachutes help slow the vehicle down
There he is. Yep. you
even
can see it.
further
Wow, she's
and
really
help
chalky.
stabilize in preparation for main chute deployment.
There you are. There you are. Yep, I see it. I see the blunt side and I see the top of the nose cone.
Right about now, the capsule is going about 400 miles per hour.
Wow, it really burned off a
Decelerating
lot of that
quickly.
velocity. Wow.
And standing by for drogue deploys.
I'm just going 400 miles an hour. No big deal. Look at that thing fall down. Holy.
Visual, 2 drogues out.
Okay, 2 drogues.
There on your screen, we have visual confirmation of those 2 drogue deployments.
Copy. D drogue.
All right, so 2 of 2, the drogues now out. They're going to do their slowing and stabilizing of the Dragon spacecraft. They should be detaching in just a few moments, and then we'll see 4 parachutes, the main parachutes deployed.
Yeah.
Dragon under drogues.
Oh, sweet, man.
Drogue descent rate nominal.
Descent rate nominal. This is
The expected descent rate, the expected velocity under the
I don't know what
drogues
8-ball's
nominal.
talking
We're
about in
right
the
at
chat.
around 150 miles an hour and already dropping. You can see the drogues now
There's
detach.
And there we
There
have
they are.
confirmation of deployment of the 4 main parachutes.
We are visual on 4 chutes out.
Oh.
We are visual. 4
Yes.
main parachutes
Copy.
deployed.
4 main.
Yes. See, that's huge right there, man. They are coming home.
So at this point, the main parachutes have deployed. They are inflating, as you can see there on your screen, continuing
Don't speak
to
too
slow
soon.
Dragon down significantly.
Yeah, it's about 15 miles an hour.
We are anticipating splashdown in just under 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah, we've already slowed the vehicle down to about 16 miles an hour. It's already less than a kilometer in altitude.
Holy moly. They did it.
Main chute descent rate nominal, passing through 700 meters.
So at this point, Dragon has saved all propulsion systems on
600
board.
meters.
600 meters.
And we're 600 meters above the Gulf of Mexico.
Should be approximately 1:30 from splashdown.
Mission control team here in Hawthorne has reported the precise landing coordinates to the recovery team.
Bradley here with Mars
They
Meditation.
are standing
We're coming
by,
at- wait,
ready
do a
to
video.
go get our space dads.
Bradley here at
100
Mars
meters.
Meditation, coming at you live on my YouTube channel. Dragon has all 4 main chutes deployed and is splashing down at the Gulf of Mexico near Pensacola. Crew Dragon, Bob Bankin and Doug Hurley.
We just
Returning
passed about
home safely.
300 meters. 1 minute till splashdown.
Sorry, I had to put that on Snapchat because I still use Snapchat.
200 meters. We are braced for splashdown.
Embrace.
Copy, brace for splashdown.
How do you brace for splashdown?
So there we heard Bob and Doug reporting that they are
Cannonball?
bracing for a splashdown.
Man, that is
We should be able to
picture
see
perfect.
the Gulf of Mexico here in the shot just momentarily, as we're now just about 20 meters off the ocean.
Splashdown.
As you can see on your screen, we have visual confirmation for splashdown.
Now it's time for the 150-meter hop.
SpaceX
Tyler.
copies and concurs. We see splashdown and mains cut.
Okay, main's cut.
Dragon Endeavour has returned home. NASA astronauts Bob and
Endeavour,
Doug.
on behalf of the SpaceX and NASA teams, welcome back to planet Earth, and thanks for flying SpaceX.
Hell yeah. Yes.
It was truly our honor and privilege to fly in flight of the Crew Dragon and Endeavour. Congrats, everybody at SpaceX.
We heard that.
All good, and we're into section of 4.800.
Thanks for those words, Doug, and we copy that you are into 4.800.
So great news all around there. Our space dads are back on Earth after a 19-hour return journey from space.
Hey, Boeing.
Dragon Endeavour has splashed down in the
Deal
Gulf
with it.
of Mexico, just off the coast of Pensacola, Florida. And on your
That's what I
screen
would do
there,
if I
you
was
can
Elon.
see our
I'd just
2
put on
fast
some
boats,
sunglasses and be
and
like,
they are indeed fast.
Deal with it.
Racing out to greet Dragon Endeavour as it sits there. The first on there, we can see a view
buddy.
inside the capsule. Bob and Doug looking good. Although the communication was a little choppy, we did hear.
SpaceX Endeavour in 3.1, we show ourselves in stable 1.
Stable.
And SpaceX copies for vehicle assessment, step 3.1, stable 1. Good news.
Stable 1, essentially. They're upright in the water. Stable 2,
Yeah.
also another potential where it could be on its side or even upside down, but Dragon does have a water ballast system to keep it upright where it's able to essentially pump
Holy
seawater
moly.
into
What
bladders
a
in the
huge
service section of
moment
the
in
capsule.
spaceflight history.
But they're upright.
The
We
first
already see the
private
fast boats
company
approaching.
to launch and
They
land
touched down,
humans in and out of
came
space.
right on time at 11:48
my sunglasses on 'cause I
a.m.
might cry.
Pacific, 1848 UTC. Bob and Doug now in the water, and the recovery ops, they've already begun. We already see the fast boats starting to move in. We're still maintaining that good communication back with Bob and Doug and the team here in Hawthorne. Pretty soon we should be getting the go for them to move in, begin their hypergol sniffs, and begin wrangling up those parachutes. But we can see Bob and Doug inside the capsule, back on planet Earth.
Yeah, those fast boats will be moving in to do a couple of things. They'll be performing what's known as a sniffer test. That's essentially to ensure that the air around the vehicle doesn't have any toxic fumes from the hypergolic propellants on board. So once we get the all clear from there, the water recovery lead will give the go for approach. And that's
I'm not live. So what's going to happen is they're going to test out this capsule one more time, put hypergolic fuels in there, and test out the Super Dracos for the abort motors. And then, oh, here's a replay here.
Still getting a view from the WB, the airplane.
That's
it's
floating there.
Those great views are really our first views.
And the hypergolic fuels is that's what exploded
you can see the
back in April last year,
in the water,
and it's very toxic ground fueling, and it's just not safe.
As expected by Dragon.
There's those parachutes right there.
So for now, the crew just standing by. Again, they're going to stay in
So
their
yeah,
seats,
they got to test that out one more time in order to reuse this capsule. But maybe this
Dragon,
capsule could be
SpaceX,
reused.
check.
They have to build a new trunk though.
Loud and clear. Hello.
Loud and clear as well. Just wanted to verify a quick comm reconfiguration. Thank you.
So essentially what just happened there is they reconfigured.
Solo, if you can just relay status of the fast boats and the recovery as you get them. We
gotta wear the
appreciate
glasses for SpaceX. The deal with the glasses.
Absolutely, Doug.
Deal with it, Boeing.
So what just happened there, you
No
heard
tribalism, but deal with
comms
it, you know what I'm saying?
reconfiguration. That's essentially looping Bob and Doug's communication into the into the recovery team, so that they can hear feedback from Bob and Doug directly as well. Now, we talked a little bit about
SpaceX Endeavor. You can let Ben and James know we're doing pretty good so far.
Okay, we'll let the flight docs know that you're feeling good so far. Thanks for that update.
Feeling good, dude. They're feeling
really good news there to hear that they're feeling good, and they can let the flight surgeons know that all is well inside Dragon Endeavor.
That's awesome.
All right, and it sounds like we do have one of our folks that's on location there with the recovery forces, NASA's Brandy Dean. She's joining us by satellite phone. Brandy, if you can hear me. I mean, what is it like right there on the water? What was it like to watch
Dragon? We're
watch them splash down
for the test objective. So stand by at the console once we get it up and operating. I'll let you know.
I can't hear that.
Okay, SpaceX copies. We'll be ready for that in just a couple minutes. We should have the go for you in just a moment. Please stand by.
Deal with it. Oh man, that's beautiful.
I can hear you, but they're good.
What? It's a very choppy signal we've been getting here. Excuse me. Any questions you guys have for me, let me know. Otherwise, I'm just speechless from that landing. And I'm happy I converted my stream from the 150-meter hop to both the splashdown and the hop. So I'm happy to cover both of these events with you guys, and I'll keep the stream up for all.
There in the center of your screen, Dragon capsule, waiting for the fast boats to approach and begin the rigging process. And there on the left-hand side of your screen, we can see that second fast boat come into view.
Dragon, SpaceX, we are go for recovery personnel to approach. Expect personnel alongside in just under a minute.
Dragon copies. Thank you.
All right, so they're starting to move in. As Kate just said, that first boat's going to go in, sniff around the capsule for any traces of hypergulls. The second one's going to start rounding up the parachutes, which we're getting some really cool views from the WV-57 still flying overhead. Looking down, you can see the parachutes in the water, and the second boat start to gather them up. We'll try one more time real quick. We have NASA's Brandy Dean out with the recovery forces. Brandy, if you can hear me, what was it like to watch this Dragon come down under parachutes?
Oh, it was amazing. I wish everybody could have had my view. It was such a beautiful sight. I mean, it's a gorgeous day. The water is calm. really the best weather we could have asked for. And we heard the sonic booms as it made its way into the atmosphere, and we were able to find it early on as the parachutes were deploying. So it was very exciting for everybody who was gathered here.
That sounded really
That's incredible.
demonic.
We actually had some questions from people if you'd be able to hear the sonic boom, and we weren't sure. So I'm really glad you just answered that for us. I mean, we talked so much about the weather. You said it looks great. What was it like on the ride out there? Has it just been kind of clear skies and clear seas the whole way?
I'm not sure if you can hear me right now, but I think you're asking about the weather, whether it was clear skies. There are just a kind of a circle of clouds along the horizon, very low, but we were able to see the parachutes far above the clouds and then follow it all the way until it splashed down.
That's what it sounds like. It's very scary.
All right, well, we're not getting any views on the boat, so what kind of activity is taking place right now? We're able to see the fast boats approaching the capsule. What's everybody doing on the boat to just kind of get everything ready?
The boat's also making its way towards the capsule. I can't see it with my mirror. But we're getting closer. Everybody's been kind of standing by, holding ready positions for quite a while now. So as soon as the splashdown gets full, they just stand and start working on their own activities.
It sounds like a lady who.
All right, copy that. Well, we're going to keep watching from here. Thanks for calling in, and thanks for being out there with everybody.
It's like a normal human's voice, and then immediately 50 years of smoking cigarettes just hits their throat, and they're like,
we'll talk to you back in Houston.
No, I know that was just the signal.
So there on your screen, camera view change. That is a view coming to us from Go Navigator, the recovery vessel. The two fast boats are out there getting ready to install the rigging equipment required to hoist Dragon out of the water. The other fast boat is actually collecting the parachutes from the water. We definitely want to bring those back on board with us. But shortly here, we should actually see one of the team members crawl up onto the side of the capsule in order to install the rigging, like I mentioned.
That's awesome.
That particular team member is highly experienced and highly trained. As you can imagine, climbing on top of an oddly shaped thing in the ocean could be a little tricky. So this person has undergone hours and hours of training and certification in order to perform this very important task. There on the right-hand side of your screen, we see the second fast boat approaching. Of course, both of these boats needed to wait for their cue from the water recovery lead in order to approach Dragon after splashdown. Again, that was just to make sure that there weren't any toxic vapors in the air. And now that they got the all clear, we do see them beginning to work on and around the Dragon capsule.
So cool.
So even though the camera's a little shaky, that water looks super, super duper smooth, almost like glass, which is certainly ideal for a water recovery like today.
Yeah, got to remember that this is a view from the main recovery vessel, which was still a few miles away from the splashdown
Dragon
point.
SpaceX. We have hypergol sweeps and unfired ordnance checks nominal. Rigger is on board the vehicle. About 5 minutes until capsule lift.
Nice.
After that, yep, we see them walking outside, and good news.
Good news.
All right, confirmation there that all of those hypergolic vapor tests came out positive, or rather negative, which is a positive thing. So the team was able to approach, and now the crew member that is installing the rigging is on top of the capsule. It's difficult to see there because the slower vessel, the primary recovery ship, is a little further away. But as we heard, it's just a mere 2.5 minutes until they will be hoisted out of the water.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Awesome.
25 minutes, not 2.5. I misheard that.
Yeah, they're fast, but they're not that fast. We also have been hearing that the secondary boat, which its primary mission in this case is securing those parachutes, they've already got buoys attached to both drogues, And 2 of the 4 mains already had eyes on the other 2, so they're moving through that work pretty quickly.
Awesome.
Again, their primary responsibility getting those parachutes together. The drogues detaching from the spacecraft right before the deployment of the mains automatically detaching immediately as Dragon detected splashdown. All of that happening right per the timeline.
Yeah, we've talked a little bit about the hardwired buttons that Bob and Doug have on their seats and in their control displays, and cutting the main chutes is one of those buttons. In the event that they weren't automatically cut after splashdown, Bob and Doug would have had the ability to do so.
I see.
If the winds were stronger and they caught the parachutes, it could certainly create a condition where the capsule could be moved unintentionally by those
Or flipped.
dragging parachutes.
Yeah.
So definitely want to avoid that. So that's one of the few buttons that are hardwired into the cabin for the crew.
Nice. Successful splashdown, yo. This is crazy cool. So half of the
Again,
stream
right now,
done.
We're expecting about 20 minutes for the main
No.
recovery vessel, the Go Navigator, to reach Dragon. By that point, all the rigging will be affixed, and then they'll be able to use the A-frame hydraulic lift on the back of the vessel to begin to pull Dragon up out of the water. Bob and Doug did report they're seeing the guys climbing around outside their window on the capsule, getting that rigging affixed. Still doing good from all of their reports. And we're just going to see the vessel continue to close in. It's a little over 1.3 nautical miles still away, but you can see things starting to sharpen up in our view as it does draw in closer.
It's awesome.
One thing I didn't get to mention as the sequence events was happening, everything was going so quickly, just before the drogue deployment, the seats automatically rotated to about 26 degrees. And so if you think back to when we saw Bob and Doug while they were still on orbit and during the deorbit burn and all their departure burns, they were actually laying closer to on their backs at the 40-degree position, where essentially they were looking up at the top of Dragon capsule, like their stomachs were facing the top nose cone there. At this point, the seats would have rotated, so they're in a little bit more of an upright position. That's done to ensure that the loads experienced from landing are, doesn't hurt them. So at this point, they are not really laying on their backs in the ocean. They are seated upright a little bit, which would allow them to have a better view of the team working to install the rigging equipment.
Yes. Indeed. I'm so
So at this
excited for the
point,
hop,
we're
guys.
at about 22 minutes until Dragon will be lifted onto the recovery vessel.
Oh, it's going to be lifted. Oh, 26 minutes. All right, well.
Bob and Doug are still strapped into their seats, kind of like an airplane. They say, do not unbuckle your seatbelt until the captain determines that it's safe to do so. They will remain in their seats throughout the entire recovery process,
Yeah.
essentially until it's time to get them out.
Yep. Excuse me.
Like I said, we are expecting to lift Dragon onto the Go Navigator recovery ship in about 21 minutes.
Or sooner.
And then in 28 minutes, we will be opening that hatch and beginning crew egress,
Egress.
also known as exit.
And we did hear the rigging is pretty much complete, so right as they arrive there at the capsule, the main recovery vessel will be able to begin getting it up out of the water.
So now as the recovery vessel Go Navigator is getting closer to Dragon's position there off the coast of Pensacola, Florida, we're able to see the capsule in a little bit more detail, it is certainly no longer a
White.
bright shade of white. Like we said, those external temperatures were reaching up
yeah,
to
it almost looks
3,500
black all
degrees
the way up.
Fahrenheit. So the thermal protection systems, enable Dragon to return while keeping the internal temperature rather temperate.
It's interesting. It's looking good.
And you are seeing a few more boats than expected.
A lot of boats.
The team's currently working with a few private vessels in the area, making sure that they get out of there.
Wow, it's a very good view. Yeah, it looks just as toasty as DM2 was, or DM1, sorry. And the nose cone is wow, it's a really big nose cone now that I think about it. You can kind of see the line where the nose cone begins. And yeah, see we have some personnel swimming on the side right there. Or maybe perhaps standing somewhere. No, he's swimming. Or sitting somewhere. I don't even know. I can't even tell right now. But yeah, you can see everyone is doing some egress
And now we
checks
see one
here.
of the SpaceX fast boats moving in.
I do not believe the Super Dracos have any water in them right now. You know what I'm saying? But it's possible that they could have gotten water inside of the nozzles. Oh, actually, the nozzles have those little
So we are being
caps.
advised that
So
the recovery team is radioing out to the vessels in the water near Crew Dragon to vacate the area so that we're able to extract Bob and Doug safely. You know, also for the safety of those folks in the area as well, not just Bob and Doug.
Yeah, this is obviously a dynamic operation. One of the first things we do is make sure there aren't essentially poisonous fumes around the capsule, so something like this just really can endanger the whole thing, endanger the crew members and endanger themselves. So the SpaceX team is moving in to try and get them away so they can safely recover the Dragon capsule and get Bob and Doug on deck and safely inside their medical quarters. So we can see them, they're getting a lot closer. We expect about 10 minutes or so until they should be in position. All the rigging has been affixed on the Dragon capsule, and once they arrive, they'll be able to use that hydraulic lift to get Dragon up and out of the water.
So wow, that is so historical. So the Super Dracos are you know, they're not doing.
So the
They're
recovery vessel
plugged
Go
up.
Navigator is getting closer and closer to Dragon Endeavor.
They're plugged up,
As it
so if they retest it and the Super Dracos light successfully for abort motors, they should be good to reuse this thing. We'll see.
Just off the coast of Florida, near Pensacola. Maybe next time we shouldn't announce our landing zone. Oh, there we got a shot from our WV-57 plane. It looks like that area has cleared out significantly, so that is good to see. And we're also hearing that all of the parachutes have buoys on them, so also good news as the recovery process continues.
No parachutes are drowning today.
Demo 2.
Ooh, could you reuse those parachutes? I guess you can, huh? You have to inspect them like crazy, but. Wow. Any questions you guys have while you're stopping by? Again, thank you for checking out this live stream with me and joining me today. I'm going to be sticking around for the 150-meter hop. And they keep distracting me when they talk. I'm sorry. I can't listen and talk. I guess I learned that today. I'll be sticking around for the 150-meter hop, answering questions. I'm going to be awaiting the official SpaceX stream for the hop, but I could utilize Lab Padre's. I just don't want to take too much time of his hard work and his stream. That's his property, so I'm not really going to piggyback off of that. But just to get updates, we'll check out a couple of clips and go over some Starship development news. And I'm just crossing my fingers that today we get to see astronauts land back on Earth, and at the same time, a vessel that is supposed to send humans to Mars do its first hop. It's going to be so crazy. So, like Tyler commented in the chat, 150-meter hop. We're getting ramped up for this. So, if you guys have any questions while you're stopping by, feel free to ask them or just say hi. Just say hi. Let me know that you're here, and I can acknowledge you. Feel free to hit that like button, and if you find the quality of this stream to be fun and something you'd like to watch in the future, I highly recommend you subscribe to my channel and stick around for some of the new videos that will be coming down the pipeline. I'm wearing my sunglasses because Bob and Doug actually landed. They splashed down in the ocean, and it's like whoa, look at all those ships. Oh, whoa, look at that big boat. Dude, that's awesome. Dude, that's awesome. Okay, so it looks like the parachutes are underwater. You can still see them though, and they attached buoys to the parachutes so that they won't sink to the bottom of the ocean. And they'll be able to pull those out with some different equipment. Cool. So let's listen in here.
Dragon floating in the water there in the background, along with many onlookers. Certainly from
Very terrible camera
this is
angle.
a live shot coming from Go Navigator, our primary recovery vessel here. So Crew Dragon is also accompanied by the fast boats that are helping to bring it in closer.
That water is so calm.
See a couple of the recovery team members on the deck. And also just behind them, we get our first good view of the nest. Yes, so this is essentially the nest in the background there. Dragon will be hoisted using the hydraulic lift out of the water and into that nest. That nest will then be pulled towards the camera from this view, towards those individuals on that upper deck there. And that's where the
Dragon SpaceX com check.
Loud and clear, Solo. How about?
Okay, so
Loud and clear as well, and from the video, looks like the boat is about one length away.
So Doug Hurley hit his head going into the International Space Station when they got up. So I'm waiting to see something happen from Bob, seeing if Bob has any issues getting out of the capsule, if he hits his head or hurts himself in some way. We'll have to just wait and see. I don't wish for any harm for the astronauts, but I thought it was really funny when Doug kind of came into the ISS and it hit his head on the hatch door and freaking bled. Like the first moment on the station again, he was bleeding on his head. So it's awesome. Yeah, you'd hope for you're thankful for better things, right? You don't want the astronauts to be harmed, but it could be worse, is what I'm saying. Let's turn this up.
It's that circular object with the A1 right on it.
Sorry about that audio.
So while this is the first time we are recovering a capsule with crew members on board, the recovery team has been...
And Dragon, just letting you know, we got a couple lines connected and rigging is in progress.
This is such a great...
Copy that, SpaceX. Thank you.
All right there, so just updating the crew that they might feel some momentum as a couple of the rigging lines are attached. There we can actually, there's our first good shot of the individual who is placing that rigging equipment. Again, that's someone that's highly specialized and very well trained for these operations. As I was saying, the recovery team has rehearsed and practiced this with Bob and Doug themselves, actually, in a test capsule, practicing the egress as well as
There's the arm
they have recovered, they have practiced the recovery process many times, and actually through those practice runs, they have effectively cut the recovery period in half from the initial Demo 1 mission. So it's really nice to see that the process itself, after being rehearsed and carefully choreographed, is going super efficiently. Again, safety is the #1 priority, so making sure that only personnel involved in active recovery operations are present on the deck. You may have heard us mention before that there are about 40 people on board today, but we certainly don't want anyone in danger or to fall overboard.
Oh.
That guy intentionally jumped. Speaking of falling overboard.
That's funny.
We're ready. Thank you.
All right, so the crew was just told
I'm outta here.
in the next 30 seconds, they have the lines affixed, so they're going to start lifting the capsule up out of the water.
That guy intentionally jumped.
And at this point, the communication we're getting with Dragon is actually being routed through the boat itself at this point. So there we can see the lift. Dragon is out of the water.
Yeah, so
now
now
that A-frame's going to start swinging it back. And it's bound right for that nest at the bottom of your screen.
This is beautiful. Very well done. Very well done, SpaceX team. Look at all those boats supporting them. God, this is so crazy.
there we're getting a better shot of all the points in which Dragon is tethered to the hydraulic lift, ensuring that it isn't swinging freely.
So what is under the door there? Is that like an open area for him to step in? I'm like, oh, he had to put a little wrap. He wrapped it, but I don't understand what's below that cavity area. Okay.
There we can see Dragon Endeavour being carefully set down into the recovery nest on top of Go Navigator.
Yes.
Dragon SpaceX, welcome aboard the recovery vessel. Recovery personnel are completing final checks and preparing to translate you to the egress platform.
All right.
We copy. Thank you.
So for the first time in 2 months, NASA astronauts Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley are on some sort of ground. I guess we can't call it solid ground because it is a ship. However, it is the first time that they are not in space, on a rocket, or bobbing in the ocean.
That's amazing.
So now that they're in the nest, they're going to start translating it forward. And Dragon's going to move into essentially the hangar section underneath that helipad and then up to that recovery platform that we saw a little bit earlier. At that point, the spacecraft technicians will work to open up the hatch. As we said previously, it's a manual process with a couple of different attachments you have to engage before the hatch itself can be opened. They'll get it opened.
Road
and
not
then
closed yet.
SpaceX's
SpaceX
Anil Menon will be the first one through the hatchway to
Here's
check in
Lab
on Bob and Doug, get their
Lab
initial
on
health
the
assessment,
top
see
of
if
the
they're ready
hotel
to
room,
move,
flying
and then
around.
we'll start assisting them out of the capsule
Get some
and
good
into that
shots.
medical facility
Look at that.
on the boat.
There's the man himself. That's so cool. He's flying his drone around. Man, he is the boss. Look at that.
So at this point, the recovery team is doing final securing of the capsule
Switch back.
in preparation to actually move the recovery nest into closer to the interior of the ship. It'll actually be in a little bit of a covered deck there. We saw that camera view earlier, looking straight out from the center of the boat. So once Dragon is secured in the nest will be translated then forward and closer to the recovery, closer to the position in which we're able to actually open the hatch. So while Dragon is on board safely, we're not able to do that just yet.
Yeah, they're working to detach some of those lines that were used to hoist it using the A-frame, and we heard that they should be done with that in just a moment, and then we'll start that translation.
Nice. That's sick. Cool. So after this, I am going to take a little bit of a break and leave the stream up with just I don't know, just to leave the stream up.
So right now we can see the recovery team releasing those securing lines that were used during the lift of the capsule from the water into the nest. So they are releasing those securing lines from the sides, making sure it is secure from the bottom.
And there we see Dragon moving forward.
Look at that. Smooth as a Tesla, I would say.
Wait, how is it moving forward? Is it on tracks?
It's really interesting to see those scorching marks now that we get a really nice up-close detail shot of Dragon.
Yep. It's just on tracks.
Standing by for the go for side hatch open.
What's up with the windows?
That rounded square there in the center of the capsule is that side hatch. And on either side are those oval windows.
Here's a camera.
Dragon SpaceX, stand by for side hatch opening and egress.
Copy, we're ready.
Oh, yeah, you are.
Crew got the call. We are go for hatch open.
No doubt you're ready. I'm going to get some really good pictures of this. This is historic. But they did it. Very, very cool to see. What are they doing here? Oh, they're just putting that back in there. What is that? The main frame.
And if you look closely, immediately above the hatch, you can see the area where you can see them working in now. That's where those drogue chutes deployed from. The two circles on either side were where the mortars were. The main parachutes now hidden by the platform underneath the side hatch.
Bob and Doug.
So the crew is in the process of removing the side hatch.
Removing?
We can see that Go Navigator is in transit. It is making its way back to the Pensacola Naval Air Station. However, Bob and Doug will get a ride from the recovery vessel via helicopter.
I see. That's why there's a helicopter pad. Ah, that makes sense. So they land a helicopter on the boat and then take the astronauts up back to Florida, right? That's so cool. I actually have never seen this process all the way through. I've seen footage of like some of the other recovery. Okay, what are they doing?
So again, we're preparing to open the side hatch, and once that is done, the flight surgeon will pop his head in, do an initial check, see how Bob and Doug are doing.
Sorry.
Copy, Mike. We're standing by.
Everyone's wearing masks.
And so they're still continuing to do kind of those sniffs, so checking for any vapors or anything. So those NDO, it's NO2, nitrogen dioxide, primarily can get detected in the air from the burning of fuel. Yeah. So they're going to continue to just inspect around the capsule, make sure that it's, again, safe for the crew, safe for the recovery experts before they get this hatch open.
Okay.
But again, moving right along the timeline.
Wow, this is awesome. Okay.
Since they splashed down at
13 of you joining the stream now. Thank you so much for checking this out. This is actually the most people I've had on a live stream before. So I really appreciate it. I know it's a really small number, but for a small YouTuber like myself, that is highly appreciated. So really good count. Go ahead and hit that like button if you're here now and you're liking what you see. Well, obviously you like what you see, but and let me know if you have any questions about this particular event that's happening right now. We're going to be tuning in for the 150-meter hop in a couple of hours. And yeah, this is awesome. So thank you guys so much for being here. Hit that like button. Consider subscribing to my channel. And if you have any questions, I am here to spread the knowledge or lack thereof. This is really cool, except I'm like losing signal by the second. Come on, hello. No. Okay, there it is. Okay, again, thank you guys so much for being here. 13's a pretty high number for me, so it's, I mean, I know it's nothing, but still, I'm humbled. Really, really cool. We'll see them open the hatch here very shortly. Perhaps they're just doing a...
So again, just a short pause in the operations is, again, they're just sniffing around the capsule, making sure we don't have any readings that might indicate a fuel leak or anything around the vehicle. They did detect some NDO, some nitrogen dioxide, which is typically a residue that arises from the burning of fuel.
Yeah.
So they're continuing to do just a couple of different air readings, grab samples essentially, before they proceed with the hatch opening.
All right. So yeah, I've never seen those two holes opened up at the top where the parachutes deploy. I've never seen that. But it's obvious that the capsule just gets rid of some parts there, like the whole
And Dragon SpaceX update, we're still investigating. Looks like we'll be setting up a service section purge. We're working on a ETA for you.
Copy.
Service section purge sounds like C-section. I don't know why that comes to mind, but... Standing by.
In case if you're just joining us, NASA astronauts Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley have safely returned from the International Space Station. They made an on-time splashdown in the Gulf of Mexico just off the coast of Pensacola, Florida at 11:48 a.m. Pacific, 18:48 a.m. Universal Time. And they have been pulled out of the water and hoisted onto the recovery vessel Go Navigator.
This is so cool.
And right now the team is just completing, they did an initial check and found that there might be some remnant vapors, which we certainly don't want to be around when we have Bob and Doug coming out of the capsule. So the team is working to purge the service section in preparation for crew egress. Just a little commentary on the hatches that we've been talking about. So while Dragon's top hatch is used to connect to the International Space Station, that's the one that's located under the nose cone, which is currently hidden there at the top of the capsule. This is the side hatch is what is utilized for ingress and egress, both on the launch pad as well as coming up here on the recovery vessel. When the when the capsule is docked to the International Space Station, they will use the forward hatch to exit and enter the capsule. Something to note that once that side hatch is opened, it'll be the first time that Bob and Doug have gotten a breath of fresh air. The first time that they've been able to do so in 2 months since they boarded the Falcon 9 at the start of their mission back on May 30th.
What if their first breath was a breath of coronavirus? Would that be bad?
With an on-time splashdown, they returned with almost exactly 64 days in space on this mission.
You know what
just a few minutes shy.
Is that 64 days have passed and we have gone nowhere, at least in the United States, in regards to coronavirus. And these astronauts were like, we're going to ditch Earth for 2 months and see what happens when we get back. And you get back and it's the same shit all over again. I don't know. I would feel pretty, meh about the whole situation. Coming back to Earth, but that's just how Earth is, man. We're just this huge rock floating through space with all of our problems, and I feel like we're getting the idea that the more we get people out into space, and the more that we pursue to spread consciousness to other multiplanetary bodies and become a spacefaring civilization, we can solve our problems much quicker. So
Okay,
missions
Captain,
like
after
this
reading
make
my mic, we were just wondering if you saw any indications of a leak or some depressurization somewhere, but it sounds like it's just part of the deal.
part of the deal.
Yeah, that's a good readback, Doug.
Okay. But yeah, this is like this is just such a vital moment for us to understand that we can put all of our problems aside if we just start investing our resources into space. Our problems will just become so minute if we can just realize that, you know. And like I said, for the astronauts to come back to Earth with,
Right, so we're just continuing to get a view down right at the hatch of the capsule. They are
the astronauts come back to Earth, and there's just this ongoing pandemic still happening.
the one
It's
we've
just
heard specifically mentioned was
that's a
NDO
bummer.
or NO3 nitrogen or NO2 nitrogen dioxide. They are at very low levels. Obviously not at a very harmful level, as we still have people in close proximity to the capsule. They are going through with the purge. They're not
Sorry about that. Let me
seeing any indications
getting
of a
really
leak
bad signal.
in the service section
I need to keep this going.
of Dragon.
I don't care about the quality. Just need to keep the audio going. So I apologize for that lag, guys. Video Maven, how much longer? I'm thinking you're asking about how much longer till they open the hatch. I don't know.
We are just about 44 minutes post splashdown. Actually still ahead of the timeline, as we weren't expecting to get the hatch open until shortly before 60 minutes, at which point we'd be bringing Bob and Doug out. So this service section...
SpaceX, another update. The service section purge should begin in a bit under 5 minutes. Right now we're showing NTO about 2x of our personnel exposure limits, and we're hoping once we start the purge, it'll drop down for us.
So how much longer? 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
I think 5 to 10 minutes is a good guess.
And I'm going to have to correct myself. So it's NTO, that's the dinitrogen tetraoxide, and that's one of the hypergolic fuels used inside Dragon for powering those Draco thrusters. So again, the SpaceX engineers detecting levels of NTO. It's dinitrogen tetraoxide. It's one of the hypergolic fuels used inside the Dragon spacecraft. Levels higher than they would like, so they're essentially doing a purge to help dissipate any vapors in and around the service section where those fuel tanks reside in the Dragon capsule. We're expecting that to take within the next 5 minutes or so. We were still expecting the crew out inside of an hour, so still on the timeline or a few minutes ahead, and we should be seeing Bob and Doug. Once we see those levels continue to drop around the capsule, we'll begin to step through the hatch opening process once again.
They're wearing those quarterback sleeves with the like a menu or a chart on the sleeve that you can kind of put behind plastic. It's pretty cool. Okay, he's doing a reading right now. Yeah, just waiting. The A-arm did its job. Dragon, I mean, everything's gone perfect up until this moment. So nothing, the astronauts aren't going to die. Nobody's going to get hurt. They're just making sure that levels of toxic gases are out of the way. Wearing a mask will not protect you from lethal toxic gases. So here they are. He's got a gas mask on. He's got some oxygen.
So right now we're getting ready to purge the service section. This is to make sure that the lingering NTO fumes that the team is detecting get flushed out, essentially. The service section is not the interior cabin where Bob and Doug are. It's actually the part of the capsule that is outside of the place where Bob and Doug are. It's external to the cabin, but it's inside the capsule itself. So you can think of it as the space between the exterior of the Dragon capsule and the interior space where Bob and Doug are. There's
I think the interior pressure vessel, essentially.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So Bob and Doug are fine. The air that they are breathing is, that nitrox mix that they've been getting throughout the entire duration of
all the cavity areas where all the
today's
electronics and motors
operations. But it'll be essentially the area below their cabin, completely sealed off from the service section. Yeah, that service section is where there's a lot of telemetry. It's where there are the prop tanks, and we're just making sure that those get aerated so that lingering fumes
I should probably move my camera because I'm kind of in the way of the Dragon capsule here.
Swept away.
Again, they had detected higher levels than they want to see of nitrogen tetroxide. That's one of the two hypergolic fuels used in Dragon, the other one being monomethylhydrazine. Those two fuels, essentially when thrown together, even without an ignition source, will react. That's what makes them hypergolic fuels. Much simpler, more elegant solution used in a lot of on-orbit maneuvering systems in spacecraft. So again, we're just standing by.
So as you can see on your screen, there is one crew member that has kind of what looks like a...
Dragon SpaceX, don't have a huge update for you. Just letting you know the service section purge is still in work.
We're waiting. That's okay. Take your time. This is important.
And we'll try to get you out of there shortly.
Yeah, this is very important for them to...
Copy.
Like, it'd be a disaster if the astronauts egressed successfully.
So as I was saying, two individuals on your screen there,
what I mean?
one with a face mask and what looks like a scuba tank there with some clean breathing air. There might be another crew member with the same personal protective equipment or PPE that will come on deck here. That type of equipment, there we go. That's the kind of equipment that is required in order to perform this purge. Again, the NTO is, the fumes from that are toxic. And of course, we want to keep all crew members safe as we prepare the side hatch for opening in order to let
Dragon
Bob and Doug
SpaceX,
egress.
looks like limits are dropping and getting pretty good. We're still continuing with the purge just to be extra sure.
Okay, that sounds good, Mike. Thank you.
All right. Well, we're getting there, so not bad.
All right, so we just heard the call. The limit's continuing to drop on that NTO, that nitrogen tetroxide. So they're just going to continue to monitor those. They're doing a purge, essentially flushing the air around the service section where the tanks for those hypergolic fuels are in Dragon. As Kate was talking about, they're not inside the pressure vessel, the section of the Dragon interior where Bob and Doug and their atmosphere exists. They're essentially outside the pressure vessel, but still inside the outer shell of the Dragon spacecraft.
Nice. Cool. Well, I'm happy you guys are still here checking this out, waiting around with me. Again, if you have any questions or just want to pop in and say hi, feel free to join the chat and say hi. I have a list of bot commands as well if you guys would like to kind of join this. Just to let you know, I have a Discord channel. If you'd like to talk about a variety of space subjects, go ahead and feel free to join my public Discord channel. It's no cost to join or anything like that. You just have to have a Discord account, and I will add you to the server with that link that you'll see in the chat right now. Feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel. There's not going to be just live streams. I actually do a lot of different types of videos, like reviewing Teslas, traveling to rocket launches, as well as doing meme reviews, which is kind of like the fun part. Meme reviews are great, so I'll actually be doing more meme reviews and some other kind of informational videos in the near future. Also, feel free to like this video. It helps YouTube. It helps YouTube know
We are just
what you're seeing is what
52
you like,
minutes
and if you don't like it, that's
post
totally fine.
Splashdown.
But it helps YouTube know that you're
We're
liking
just
the
waiting
content
for
that I'm
them to
putting out.
get good readings on the levels of any hypergol vapors still in existence around the capsule.
6
and then
likes
they'll be
so
able
far.
to step
Thank you guys
back
so much.
in
This is great.
to this hatch opening. We did hear confirmation that they haven't seen any indication of leaks through the telemetry they're still receiving from the Dragon capsule. And so,
Dragon SpaceX, we're going to purge for 1 more minute.
Good.
Copy.
Man, I would be so...
there we
I'm
go.
tired
Should
of sitting
be
in my
1 more
office
minute.
chair.
And
can't
then if
imagine
levels
sitting
have
in that
dropped
capsule for as
sufficiently,
long as
we'll
they've
be
been
able to
sitting
step
there.
back in to the hatch opening process.
They slept, and then the next morning they splashed down. But they're safe, which is the most important part, is that they are safe and they are home. Now the only risk they take is the dangers of the Earth itself.
Bob and Doug will be getting assistance from the recovery teams while exiting Dragon Endeavour. This is the same process for any returning long-duration crew members, as returning to a gravity-rich environment can, be a little jarring, wreak havoc with our vestibular system. So, which is responsible for maintaining balance and motion. Of course, as you've heard us say multiple times earlier, safety is our #1 priority with this operation. So you will see both Bob and Doug helped out of the capsule and assisted to just the few feet over to the medical quarters aboard the boat.
Yeah, if you've ever watched long-duration crews return on a Soyuz, it's a pretty similar process where they're literally carried out of the capsule and immediately placed down into a waiting chair where they usually get some initial medical checks out there in the field before they're then carried to an inflated medical tent. We don't have a tent, we have quarters, and they're a whole lot closer, so they'll just have a couple of feet to go from the capsule itself into those medical quarters. And then once they're in there, they'll get some initial checkouts from their flight surgeons who are on location on the boat with them. These are the people that have essentially been responsible for their health and well-being throughout their mission, both beforehand, all of their pre-flight data takes, offering them support in the lead up to launch, and then the entire time while on board the International Space Station. And then they're right here with the front line, with the recovery teams, ready to welcome them home.
I don't mean to yawn. It's not like this isn't exciting.
So it's been just about a minute since we heard that last call to the crew. We should be just about done with the purge. We're going to stand by, and hopefully we'll resume these hatch opening operations in just a moment.
Bob, Doug, if you remove your seatbelt, you will go to timeout. Do not remove your seatbelts. I'm kidding. I'm sure they're probably... No, I'm sure they're just sitting right there. In their nice, cool spacesuits. It'd be so cool to be in a spacesuit that, like, has air conditioning. I can't imagine what that feels like. You know what I'm saying? Alright, one more reading. They're just doing a couple more valves here. Or purging valves, I should say, because there's different valves for different pressure points of the vehicle, and I'm sure right there on the hatch is where they actually close those valves, open, loosen, in order to purge some of the
Dragon
fumes.
SpaceX 4 update.
Fumes and gases.
Good.
Okay, exterior, we're seeing 3 parts per million NTO and 6 parts per billion of MMH. Anil, however, is asking that you de-stow your Draggers and take a sample inside the cabin.
Okay, they have to take a internal sample.
Yeah, which detector? What number, Mike?
Yeah, it'll be detectors 2 and 3 in location 14.
Copy.
Okay, thanks, Doug.
He's like, dude, get me out of this thing.
All right, so we just got the call out of the current readings of both the NTO, the nitrogen tetroxide, and the monomethylhydrazine, either in the parts per million or the parts per billion. But just as an extra safety precaution, we heard Anil, so Anil Menon, the medical authority from SpaceX on the boat, asking the crew to take out some air detectors that they have inside with them just to do some quick sampling inside the cabin itself. So again, we've said it before, we'll continue to say it throughout, safety, the top priority with this operation.
Huge.
So the teams are going to be very methodical and make sure that everything is in a good setup, a safe environment, not only for the crew themselves, but also for our recovery forces. But for now, Bob and Doug still inside of Crew Dragon. We are just 58 minutes post-landing.
We're hanging out.
SpaceX Dragon with a status.
Go ahead, Doug.
Okay, for NO2 on detector 2, it reads 0.0. And on detector 3, it also reads 0.0 for MMH.
Cool. No methyl, no nitro.
Okay, great news. 0.0 for detectors 2 and 3 for NO2 and MMH. Thank you very much.
That's a good copy.
And so Doug Hurley reporting zeros across the board, no traces of either the NTO or the MMH.
Great. This is awesome. Anyways, like I said, after this, guys, once this wraps up here, which I don't want it to wrap up because it's such an awesome moment, I'm going to take another break, leave the stream up with some awesome music, and we will get back once there is some word that they're picking up, like once the road closure begins in Boca Chica, Texas, and they start campaigning for that 150-meter hop, or, you know, the test to, like, the wet dress rehearsal for it. I mean, we're either going to see a wet dress rehearsal or we're going to see the hop, you know. But hopefully that'll happen, and then I'll be back here to finish off the stream today. So, big stuff coming up here. I'm really excited.
Dragon SpaceX for a status update. Okay, so currently our exposure limits are below limits, but the purge is actually doing a pretty good job. We saw NTO go from 3 parts per million down to 1.5 over the last few minutes. So ideally, with a lot of caution, we'd go ahead and let the purge run for a little bit longer, but we want to see how you guys are doing. If you're okay with continuing with the purge versus knock it off and get you guys out of there quickly.
Yeah, we're fine hanging out, Mike. No problem here.
Okay, thanks for that, Doug. We'll keep working the purge to get us down, and thanks for that. Thanks for that.
Yeah, it's important.
Yeah, let's just keep everybody safe. No reason to rush.
Yep, that's the right answer.
Yeah, we concur.
That's the right answer.
Spacecraft Commander Doug Hurley reporting the crew still doing well in Dragon, so they are good to continue to hang out.
Could you imagine 7 people getting
Medical
out of this
authority
thing?
there on the boat recommending as long as the crew is okay and still doing well inside Dragon, they'll just continue with the purge, trying to get those trace readings of any hypergol vapors all the way down to 0. Because again, we're really focused on not only keeping the astronauts safe, but all of the recovery engineers and medical professionals there on the scene as well. So they're going to continue this purge, just dispelling the immediate area around the service section of the Dragon spacecraft. So this is really a series of fuel tanks outside of the pressure vessel. So where Bob and Doug are inside the Dragon spacecraft, which they did some quick readings inside the cabin and had zeros across the board. but they're just continuing to let these levels dissipate, bring it down to 0, and then we'll resume hatch operations. We're just a little over an hour now, an hour and 2 minutes post splashdown.
Wow.
Yeah, good to hear Bob and Doug report that they're good hanging out, meaning they're feeling all right and they're pretty comfortable staying inside for just a couple more minutes.
Yeah, they were doing their best prior to leaving of playing up their expected seasickness.
Yeah, and you know
so
what?
It is good to hear that they're doing well still inside the Dragon capsule.
This has just kind of been a long process overall to get them up in space and back. You know, this was not a flawless mission because they did have a scrub. Like they were fueled up and then they decided to no-go the launch, remember? And then the next day they launched. But, you know, like that they had a bomb under them, essentially. And if anything went wrong, they would have been on the capsule with the bomb. You know what I mean? And so they, you know, a lot of this stuff isn't perfect. But these systems are in place and these health checks are in place for the safety of Bob and Doug and the astronauts and for future investors for SpaceX so that people know that.
And Dragon SpaceX, we're still seeing good indications from the purge. We're looking to go about another 5 minutes and looking for 0 indications. If at any time you'd like us to speed things up, please let us know.
That's awesome. He's like, I got to pee.
Oh, we're good. Just keep doing what you're doing. We can wait the 5. Easy.
Easy.
All right, thanks, Doug.
Yeah, he's like, I got to pee. Go pee in your suit. Okay. I'm still seeing about 10 or so people watching, and that's remained that way for the past hour. So again, thank you so much for checking this out with me. I know it's very random to hop on some other random YouTuber's channel to check out the stream for this. You may as well be watching the SpaceX stream, but hey man, you guys check this out. I'm really happy you guys are here. Yeah, so if you have any questions for me or just want to drop in, say hi, go ahead and say hi in the chat. Tyler 40 in the chat. So hypergolic fuel is actually the fuel that they use for the Super Draco engines, like the abort motors, right? They use it for all of the RCS motors and they call it the Draco motors. So there's Draco and there's Super Draco on this guy, and the Draco is actually what helped them get to deorbit. So hypergolic fuel is fuel that can be lit upon contact with fire, like immediately. But it's a very toxic fuel. So like they said, it's nitrogen, tetroxide, and then methane. But you know, when if the capsule explodes or if there's a fuel leak, that fuel is extremely toxic, which is crazy that it's on this vehicle in the first place. But hypergolic fuel is extremely toxic, but highly reliable on emergency situations, right? Or for maneuvering the craft. And what they're doing right now is they're purging any hypergolic fuels that are remaining inside. So there's like 2 layers of the craft. There's the main pressure layer, which is like where the astronauts are. It's like the main cabin. And then there's also a pressurized section where there's like the skirt section and what's under the heat shield and what's in between the engines. Like there's air there, you know what I mean? So that's pressurized as well, and that's where it's kind of like the difference between your engine section and then the main cabin section in your car. So they're seeing hypergolic fuels in there, and they're purging that out right now, so that when they open the hatch, they open the hatch door, and that exposes both layers, you know, of kind of like, you know, outside and inside pressure layers. So when they open the hatch door, all that's released, and they want to make sure that it's as neutral as possible, so that nobody breathes in any toxic fumes.
Okay, sounds good, bud. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, bud. So yeah, hypergolic is weird, but I learned about that.
In light of one of the social media questions that we were asked earlier, someone asked if Bob and Doug have Netflix available on their heads-up displays there in the capsule, and they've actually been pretty busy throughout this mission. You know, monitoring telemetry and data, and checking for timing. And I would say now's about the time that they would certainly want something to watch because, you know, at this point, their only job left to do is get out of the capsule.
Nice. Endeavor.
Has to be a feeling of
Dragon
just
Endeavour.
success, though, for those two.
Okay, they're about to open the
I
door.
mean, taking the first flight in a brand new spacecraft, we knew as test pilots, this is something that was kind of their bread and butter when they were in the military, and definitely something they leapt at the chance for once they became astronauts. And really a pretty flawless flight for Dragon. Obviously, we'll have all of the post-flight review coming up in the next several weeks as we continue to assess all the data that we received throughout the mission and any data still recorded locally on Dragon itself. And we'll be spending the next several weeks going through and assessing the mission and working through the certification process. And we're already targeting the first operational flight, currently pegged for no earlier than late September.
I love it. September is going to be a great month.
And Dragon SpaceX, we're now planning to stop the purge in 1 minute at about 19:57.
Copy. Thank you.
Cool. Okay.
All right, well, with them stopping the purge in about a minute, that means that the levels have gone down to what they were looking for, and then we'll begin to step back into the hatch opening process and then be able to get Bob and Doug egressing or moving out of the Dragon capsule. They've been in there for a little more than 19 hours at this point since they departed the space station on Saturday. They had a sleep period, 8 hours of rest on the capsule on their way home. They've been up since a little bit earlier this morning, that wake coming about 4:40 a.m. Pacific, so a little more than 8 hours ago.
Okay. I'm going to put on some chill stuff here.
And Dragon, the purge is now complete. One more Drager check, and then we should proceed with hatch opening.
Okay, good news. Thanks.
That is good news indeed. So confirmation that the purge is complete and that they're just going to do one more test to make sure that all of the fumes of concern are to open that side hatch and retrieve Bob and Doug. Once again, once that side hatch is open, our flight surgeon will be the first to say hello, get a quick medical checkup.
Are you serious?
Get a quick medical checkup, although based on the reports that they've been, that the crew have been giving us along the way, it sounds like they're doing great, they're feeling good, and they're pretty comfortable there inside.
Come on.
And
Prana,
Dragon
baby.
SpaceX, we show 0.4 parts per million on NTO, 18 parts per billion of MMH. That's below limits. We are proceeding with hatch opening.
Go ahead, please.
Okay, great news. Thanks, Mike.
All right, so there's the green light we've been waiting for. In fact, the green light we've been waiting for months at this point. This is our first opportunity to say hello to Bob and Doug, our favorite space dads, as they are now about to egress or exit from Dragon Crew Endeavour. Again, this is the culmination of what has been about a 19-hour journey home, all starting yesterday as they departed the International Space Station.
It was so cute hearing their kids.
So this hatch will be manually opened, and once doing so, flight surgeon Neil Menon will say hello and make sure that they're still doing all right, and then proceed to assist them with exiting the capsule.
Hatch open, baby.
And we see the hatch is now open. Hatch being opened at 12:59 p.m. Pacific. Hatch is open.
A round of applause.
So right now they're going to put a piece of equipment in there that basically smooths out the edges and makes sure that it is a comfortable exit from the Dragon capsule. Just a little piece of structure there to ensure that the hatch will remain open and that any sharp edges around that side hatch are protected.
All right.
In the blue suit there, that's one of NASA's flight surgeons for the crew. That's Dr. Stephen Hart.
Hi.
And that hatch open coming at 12:59 p.m. Pacific. That's 19:59 Universal Time, or GMT.
You can't even see in there. It's like the lights aren't on. Okay, let him out. It's open. Crazy, man. So fun. That thing is toasty too.
So once again, the SpaceX recovery team is now assisting NASA astronauts Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley to exit the spacecraft.
I thought the windows were
We got the hatch open just about 2 minutes ago.
But they actually have the shutters closed on the windows, which makes perfect sense. I think they re-entered. Once they re-entered, they just shut the windows.
Some of the hypergol fuels. So we executed a series of purges. And then once those were down back in acceptable limits, we were able
3 hours
to then start with the egress.
90 minutes.
So there we see a stretcher on deck. This is normal. This is part of the standard recovery procedure. And it is just simply to ensure Bob and Doug remain safe. Like we said, readjusting to gravity can be a little challenging. Dizziness can often occur, especially when you're on a boat.
SpaceX Dragon, recap.
Oh yeah, I would get.
So this stretcher will just be used to a standard procedure to make sure that the astronauts make it over to the medical tent as easily and as comfortably as possible.
Yeah, as we discussed, the reintroduction to gravity from microgravity can be a bit jarring, especially on our vestibular system, so the stuff responsible for our balance. And as they are on a ship underway, we just want to make sure we're taking every possible precaution to ensure that their arrival is safe and free from any injury now that they are home.
Yeah, that's very important. Hey, buddy, get on out of the capsule. I know you've been in space for 2 months, but get on out of here. Climb on out. It's like, no, you're going to help him. You know? You're going to help him get out. Okay, so 8 people in the on the stream right now. Thank you guys again for joining.
We're going to get a few of the items
greatly appreciate
from the seats out of the way first before they begin extracting our crew members. They'll be coming out one at a time.
And I can't wait for you guys to stick around for the hop, if and when that happens today. If the hop doesn't happen today, I'll catch it tomorrow. I'll definitely catch it tomorrow. So it's going to be good. It's gonna be all good to go. Okay.
As we saw during the ascent portion of this mission, there is enough room inside the capsule for them to do a backflip in microgravity. However, considering there's a couple folks in there right now from the recovery team.
Got you loud and clear.
Sorry about the quality.
Quick comm check there between Dragon and Mission Control
And
here.
Solo from the PLT, I just wanted to thank you guys for bringing us home safe before I disembarked from ship Endeavor. I'm sure Doug will have some good words for you guys as
well. Please go to 1080 and don't freak out. Come on, are you serious? Come on, buddy. Sorry. I'm just trying to get this quality better, but that's just not gonna work, is it? Maybe a hard refresh. Give me 1 second, guys. Sorry. And of course, I might miss it all. But 500,000 people watching this crew demo splashdown. I love it. 500,000 people want to see these astronauts get out of here. And 8 of you want to watch it with me. So that's awesome. That is so cool.
Out of the Crew Dragon spacecraft.
There he is.
Again, they're going to get some assistance. Just the couple of feet to the medical quarters on board the ship, where they're going to be able to get out of their suits that they've been wearing for all of the final dynamic phases of the separation events, deorbit burn, re-entry, splashing down just a little over an hour ago at 11:48 p.m. or a.m. Pacific time.
Yeah. It's 2 o'clock Mountain Time right now.
Again, the recovery team.
SpaceX Dragon from the commander.
Go for SpaceX.
Here we have our first view of Doug
Mike,
Hurley.
I just would like to sort of reiterate what Bob said and add my thanks to everybody over the last several years that's either worked in Hawthorne, McGregor, or down at Kennedy Space Center. Anybody who's touched Endeavour, you should take a moment to just cherish this day, especially given all the things that have happened this year. We certainly can't thank you enough. Our families can't thank you enough. And, just proud to be a small part of this whole effort to get a company of people to and from the space station. They can celebrate with each other.
We see some.
And we'll talk to you soon, hopefully in person.
Thanks so much, Doug, and you're welcome. And thank you so much for those kind words. And we all wish you a safe journey home and a happy reunion with your family soon. And we look forward to seeing you in person as well.
Some really nice words there from Bob Benkin.
Mikey.
There on your screen, we saw NASA astronaut Doug Hurley egressing or exiting from the capsule. Might have been hard to see on your screen there, but we got a thumbs up indicating that things are going well.
He's on a gurney.
Sorry, excuse me, I mixed up my positions there. Yeah, those words were from Doug, and we have Bob that just came out first.
Yeah, so Bob Benkin, the pilot, the Joint Operations Commander for this mission, out of the capsule now. So he's making his way over to the medical area, and now they're going to work to get Doug Hurley out next.
I think I saw a smile on Bob's face.
He was a thumbs up all the way.
I love it.
As they've been giving us some regular status updates from inside the capsule, they've been feeling really good. And so now we're just standing by for our spacecraft commander, Doug Hurley, to make his way out into the fresh air for the first time in 64 days.
Well, it's no Scott Kelly for a year in space, but it's pretty big. Starship canceled, huh? No way. No way. I mean, literally, there's no way. I'm kidding. It probably is. How did it get canceled? Is the road closure not happening? I can look it up here really quick. I mean, don't speak too soon. So we're still closure scheduled. I mean, I don't know. There's really no, yeah, there's no word of that. I don't know where you got that. Fuel for the Draco thrusters. Yeah, for sure. Wait, what's fuel for? Oh, yeah. So you're answering Tyler Forty's question there. Hypergolics are. That's a very short answer.
All right, so they're getting set up,
intense with my
and
answer,
we
but
should see Spacecraft Commander Doug Hurley making
thrusters.
his way out of the capsule.
Oh, you gotta go live again.
Seated.
Wait, Starship's canceled because of the Demo 2 mission issues. Is that what you think? There was no mission issues other than the purge, which went, you know, maybe 30 minutes extra. But they still have a long window for Starship, so I wonder what's going on. Elon's clapping.
All around.
Yeah, our
Good
crew
work,
members,
SpaceX.
Bob
Seriously.
and Doug, are now
At the end of the
safely
day-
back home on Earth. And they're going to get checked out now by the NASA medical team. They're going straight into the medical quarters on board the ship. That'll be their first stop on planet Earth. And then they're going to be making their way up into a helicopter and then heading back to dry land. So
Elon's gotta do a
once they're
press
complete, the
conference.
team's going to prepare Dragon itself, and they're going to begin taking it back to shore. But just, it's been an incredible
Thanks
mission.
for
This
for
all
that
kicked
question,
off just
Russell,
2 months ago
joining in.
on May 30th
Feel free
from
to
Launchpad
like this
39A
video
at the
if you're
Kennedy
checking
Space
this
Center
out
in
and,
Florida. We
catch your
had
fancy
a
for a
successful
live stream.
liftoff. We had to dodge around some weather. It was suspenseful, clearing up the last possible moment. They had a flawless ride to orbit, a 19-hour journey to the International Space Station.
Okay.
They just
Yeah,
spent
if that's what
62
Tim Dodd
days on
said,
board,
then I
64
will.
total
I'll
days
trust
in
that.
space.
I mean, I'm
Their
not watching his
expedition
stream right now.
63
Otherwise,
crew
if I wasn't
members
streaming, I'd be
doing
watching his
science
stream. So,
experiments, spacewalks, repairs, everything.
Are they doing
on board the
champagne?
Orbit laboratory.
Their journey home began yesterday when they closed the hatch to Dragon and undocked hours later at 4:35 p.m. Pacific.
pretty cool.
After 4 successful departure burns and a phasing burn to line up their orbit, Bob and Doug rested up before waking up for reentry earlier this morning. We successfully jettisoned Dragon's trunk and performed our on-orbit maneuver, the deorbit burn, at 10:50.
So Russell, I wonder if Elon has to be there for the hop. I mean, I'm sure he can get on a private jet and make it, but you're right. That's like an hour and a half flight, and that'd be pushing it for SpaceX. Yeah. So I feel you. It's a time crunch. It's quite the time crunch, actually.
Following that successful splashdown, we saw SpaceX recovery experts quickly move in and prepare Dragon Endeavour for its lift onto the recovery vessel.
listening for
And just a
less.
little less than an hour following splashdown, we saw Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley make their way, thumbs up, out of Dragon and into the recovery ship's medical facilities, safe and sound.
Yeah, we just got word that the helicopter itself should be landing soon, so that'll be there.
So the helicopter's coming. It's gonna get Bob and Doug home. And yeah, Russell, actually, that's a good point. If Elon can't make it to Boca Chica, maybe the hop can't happen because maybe they. I seriously think maybe they couldn't do it without Elon, but maybe they could at the same time. Like, you never know. We'll see. I'm hoping that the hop either happens today, tonight, or tomorrow. Maybe they'll do some type of wet dress rehearsal, but. Again, if Tim Dodd said that it could be if it's canceled, then it's canceled, which is fine. I will throw up another live stream for the Starship 150-meter hop. Yep, they have some backup road closures, like you said, which is good. Yeah, that's interesting. So I don't know. I'll wait to get like the final word. Maybe Elon will tweet about it today, and then we'll kind of go from there. I'm gonna take a quick break, you guys. Here, 1 second. Make sure you can hear me okay. So I'm going to take a quick break and leave this stream up in the background. And then we will go ahead and get back together for the Starship hop. We'll see if it happens today, but you know, you're right. I mean, it's likely that the time stretched way too far out because of the recovery method for Crew Dragon, and Elon can't time travel to freaking Texas right now or warp travel. So yeah, perhaps Elon needs to go to Boca Chica right now and then aid for the hop for tomorrow. So makes sense. But for the crew to get out in about an hour after expected recovery time, I'm sure that's kind of based on the plan. So I don't know if Elon was planning on going to Texas or not. Yeah. Oh, are they going offline here? Yep, they did it. Okay, I'm gonna put a message up on my stream and then take a quick break. I need to get some food. I skipped over lunch for this. All right, that's it. That's the stream. Great. Okay, so like I said, guys, thank you so much for checking the stream out with me. That was a lot more people than I was expecting. If you were here and this stream fit your fancy, please consider pressing that like button and consider subscribing for Mars Meditation future videos. A lot of fun things to happen. This week is huge in spaceflight history. And now we're just waiting to kind of hear the official news on the hop, and then I will either be back or I will catch you guys in the next stream. So thank you guys so much. This is Bradley with Mars Meditation. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I hope you guys have a really fun upcoming week. Welcome to welcome to August. It's August 2nd, and things are getting real for the end of 2020. Let's change the end of 2020 and turn it into a positive year, right? I think that's the goal. All right, cool. Well, thank you guys so much. I'll be back with the official news on Starship, and yeah, we'll get going. Thanks for letting me know, Russell. Appreciate you, brother. So yeah, thanks a lot, guys, and we'll catch you in the next one. Okay, so you can probably hear me now. So it sounds like the hop is not going to be happening. I'm gonna keep. I'm gonna make a new thumbnail for the hop. Prepare a live stream for sometime tomorrow. Hopefully it's in the afternoon because I actually have to work in the morning. But we'll see how it goes. And I was hoping for today. I'll keep my feelers out to see what happens. And I'm hoping you guys can come and join me for that stream. Again, I'm Bradley with Mars Meditation. Thank you so much for the people who kind of came in and joined and talked things through with me and witnessed history with SpaceX and NASA. Bob Bankin, Doug Hurley, welcome back. Happy that you guys splashed down safely and successfully. And to further future Crew Dragon missions out there. Godspeed. So this is cool. Starship serial number 5. It's not looked like it's going to be happening today, but again, let's just wait and see, because that's kind of how it is like being a Texas tank watcher, is that things kind of come and go, and they could do it tonight. Who knows? So we'll see. But anyways, I'm Bradley with Mars Meditation. I will come back. I'll come back at you with some more live streams, and expect to see a lot more videos pumping out from the channel very soon. Thank you guys so much for checking this out, commenting and liking, and feel free to subscribe for future video and content. I'm going to be pumping out as much as I can in the next couple of months. Again, thank you. It's been quite the pleasure, and I'm very humbled to kind of have this opportunity to speak to you guys directly and talk about spaceflight and the positive aspects that come around it. So this is Mars Meditation, preparing the human consciousness for a better multiplanetary future. You guys have a good afternoon. Bye-bye.